That one, bro. The other birthday song.
Okay. So, happy birthday to ya. Happy.
No, not
Why
that
not?
one either. Follow my lead, okay?
Okay.
Happy birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, yeah, happy birthday, today is D-Day, baby, yeah, happy B-Day, it's a celebration, bitches, yeah, happy birthday, surprise, happy birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, yeah, happy birthday, today is D-Day, baby, yeah, happy B-Day, it's a celebration, bitches, yeah, happy birthday, surprise. I'm flying out the day before, I'm buying out my favorite store, I'm trying on Chanel, Dior, wherever we go, I'm being a whore, we party till the break of dawn, if there's a table, I'ma jump on, I'm singing like I'm Celine Dion, what I sound like, I swallow the yawn, it's my birthday, big surprise, we taking pics, everyone smile, look me in the eyes and tell me the lies, it's my birthday, I cry and I cry if I want to, sigh if I want to, smoke the sky, get high if I want to, hum it, I want to, it's my birthday, I do what I want to. Happy birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, yeah, happy birthday, today is D-Day, baby, yeah, happy B-Day, it's a celebration, bitches, yeah, happy birthday, surprise, happy birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, yeah, happy birthday, today is D-Day, baby, yeah, happy B-Day, it's a celebration, bitches, yeah, happy birthday, surprise, it's my birthday, bitch, I made a birthday wish, all my Santa shit, scratch it off my birthday list, first I need a birthday kiss from every chick, on every cheek, then I need a birthday flick, don't forget my birthday drink, don't forget it's my birthday, bitch, I need a red carpet entrance for the fit, it's my birthday surprise, I need my birthday surprise, hold on, let me close my eyes, little bad mama looking like she should, 5'7", dark skin look good, Hillary Banks beats boys in the hood, it's my birthday, king me as you should, end the night with birthday cake, on my face, been waiting all year for my birthday date, it's my birthday date, my birthday day. Happy birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, yeah, happy birthday, today is D-Day, baby, yeah, happy B-Day, it's a celebration, bitches, yeah, happy birthday, surprise, happy birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, yeah, happy birthday, today is D-Day, baby, yeah, happy B-Day, it's a celebration, bitches, yeah, happy birthday, surprise.
Feliz cumpleaños, Reinaldo. Que el Señor te cuide y te bendiga. Chao, bye.
Ode to Ice Cream by Beta Salt Plus. I like ice cream a whole lot. It tastes good when days are hot. On a cone or in a dish, this would be my only wish. Vanilla, chocolate, rocky road.
Through sickness and through health, through poverty and wealth, through the best and the worst, from this day to the hearse, till death do us part. You my life, you my heart, this I vow, yeah baby, no take backs allowed.
With the exchange of these rings and the power invested in me by you two in the city of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife.
The minute that I met you, I knew I won't forget you, and that means a whole lot from someone so forgetful. But how could I forget you? Someone so special, it was inevitable. I remember when I met you, we was both cutting school. I was wildin' like a fool when I ran into you, immediately was into you. So we sat down like an interview and got deep like Marvin's Room's interlude, and I smiled right back, and I knew like that, as fast as a snap, go to the moon and back. That's when my eyes opened up really fucking wide, and I smiled and introduced myself with pride.
Marriage is riding the train from the VX to Brooklyn.
Yo, what is up, everybody? My name is Holden Stefan Roy. Unfortunately, this week, Liddy Bro Flacco could not be with us. He is dealing with some stuff, so for the next few weeks, it'll be hit or miss whether or not he joins us. But that's okay because we're here with a particular mission over the next little while as we start what I've tentatively called Past Perspectives, as I don't remember if we had picked another name for it. But what we're trying to do is go through some of our old interview content and accomplish a couple of things. One, some of our original interviews are on a different channel, my other channel behind that suit. So we just kind of gonna stream the interviews over to the Perspectives channel, go through it, but also take the opportunity to look for some clippable moments or some interesting parts we could kind of stop at and like extract for further content. Also, just like it's been a few years, you know, just rewatching some of the historical stuff that built us into the people we are now and the show that we are now. Without further ado, I'm going to get into it real soon. I don't want to waste too much time just jibber jabbering, but we do want you to leave any comments if you come across this and let us know what you think are the more interesting parts. And if you're going through it and you think, yo, this will be a fire clip, definitely let us know. And we'll be back each Monday kind of streaming some of the older interviews as we build up towards the new things we'll be getting to. So on that note, yo, what's up, Lindell? If you're watching this and you come across something, just let me know. Like, yo, that would be a fire clip, like that little part there or something, and we'll do our best to grab that. And yeah, this interview came out 4 years ago, January 20th, 2021. Yo, it's January 20th today. Huh. I mean, I don't think like we streamed it, but I published like the actual YouTube video January 20th. So yeah, it's been 4 years since this video. I'm not signed in, that's why there's nothing, but 4 years since this came out. That's pretty cool. I guess we're just gonna watch it and get into it. I'm gonna increase the speed a bit because one-time speed's a little rough, but we'll start it at one-time speed and see how it goes. Make sure that volume's good. Let me know if it sounds
What's good,
alright.
everybody, and welcome to a whole brand new thing called Bridge the Gap. And this one is a whole exciting thing for me. So we started doing these interviews, we started talking to people, and the whole goal is to share knowledge, right? The whole goal is to get these people who know a lot more than, say, somebody like me does, who's been around and seen a whole lot of things that a person like me has not, and get them to share that wisdom and knowledge with the whole rest of the world, and thus bridging the gap of knowledge out there in the world, taking from the people who know a lot, and in my opinion, who should be spotlighted and put in front of the world to hear. Because, yo, Nonezeo is our guest today, and oh boy, is Nonezeo a name that, like, I don't even know how come people don't know who this guy is. He's the type of dude that DJ Vlad should have had in there 100 fucking times talking about everything he's done. Honestly, he's worked on a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to spoil it too quick, but some seriously big names he's attached to his, when you look on the Discogs and all this, like some kind of stuff that made me geek out just a little bit. But also with the idea of bridges, something that's really important to me is symbols and everything making sense. So Nonezeo over here is representing New York City. Which part of New York are you from? I don't actually know. I'm sorry. Or are you not in New York?
I'm from the Bronx, but I'm a Jersey cat now. You know what I mean? I moved probably when I was about 11 years old from the Bronx. Really was born in California, but moved to the Bronx. Like by the time I was 4 years old, I was living there. So
fresh. And for myself, I'm from Montreal. And what I realized is there is something that Montreal, New York City, and I assume with Jersey involved, they all have a little thing in common, and that's bridges. Bridges are huge for our places. Like, you can't even get on Montreal without a bridge. And then I found out it's kind of like that for most of New York. And I was like, this is the perfect name for it. I digress. So the goal here is honestly to go through your story. And when I say your story, I mean, like, let's pretend that your Wikipedia, which should be a lot, more in existence, and flush out what it is. We're creating a piece of sourceable media that people can now link to and add some little things in after, and it all counts. So I wanted to go all the way back with you. Because for me, music is a journey. And the musical journey starts off real young. And the truth is, this came from like a whole little story. So I'm sitting there watching my girlfriend wash the dishes. And she's doing this bopping around, and she's listening to the Black Eyed Peas' the I Got a Feeling song there, right? That shit's like 10 years old now. And I realized that was like the club music for us, right? Like we was up in there dancing like that, like drunk as fuck and all that shit back in the day. And then I realized, oh my gosh, my mom grew up to her club music, and I'm at home listening to her discos and this and that's when I'm growing up, and my dad had all of his club music bumping all the time. And it's not just the club music because the car is a different vibe, but I realized for me at least, and for most of us, the real musical journey is not our choices and preferences. It's the stuff that surrounded us in our youth. This is the inception to it all. So my curiosity to you, Mr. Nonezeo, is what was around in your home, in the different environments that started your musical escapades?
Wow, that's a very good question. It definitely, I live with my mom, single mom. Dad was around, but unfortunately he got locked up. But we did see each other a lot. The music that played in my household was mostly like soul music or popular music. I'll tell you, Stevie Wonder was big in the house. You know what I mean? And I do remember cleaning the house on Sundays, and you listen to the station WBLS, and it's all like mellow, like soul music. Really, really good stuff though. Marvin Gaye, you name it. Aretha Franklin. I know Anita Baker. I remember my mom bringing that album home. Same with Michael Jackson. I remember her bringing the Off the Wall album back to the house, and we listened to it on a record player. That's when the record players was the main source of music. And incredible. So I definitely got, I'd say mostly soul. You know what I mean? Motown type music. But definitely household was open to other types of music and different genres. So, like Prince, his album came out, they actually took me to see the movie, which I was very surprised by, especially since there was nudity in it. But
how old are you?
That was, huh?
How old were you?
I got to remember when the movie came out, but I was definitely young, man. It had to be like 8, 9 years old when that came out.
So as you were saying all that, you got me curious about a whole other thing, because technology is fascinating, and technology and music are correlated. So throughout this conversation, we're going to go back to technology and distribution methods and things like that. So you mentioned vinyl, right? And when I'm growing up in the world, it is, let's say, the 2000s when I get into music. So we're already in the Napster era by this point. I'm not quite like growing up with YouTube, but I'm also way past you actually have to buy music if you want to consume it. So I'm curious what it was like, even as a youth, for your parents. Was it like the radio was on a lot? Is that how y'all got new tunes? Was it just the records? Would you go to the stores?
Yeah, the radio was the main source. You know what I mean? Everything new got played on the radio. And, being that most lyrics weren't so graphic, if it was a hit song, it would definitely be on the radio. So there was no problems with that. And I definitely, 98.7 and 105.9, which was WBLS back then, were the two main routes you could go. There's a few alternative. CD 101.9 was like the jazz one, you know what I mean? But your different genres of music, you had a station like dedicated to it.
That's
you know what I mean? So yeah, radio was big, you know what I mean? Very big for me.
That's cool. And vinyl too is interesting. So technically you're like before tapes, were tapes around? Like I don't really know. My music history.
Yeah, because that's for the first one. Because honestly, you listen to the radio on your little boombox or your stereo system. Usually there was a cassette deck attached to it, and I had plenty of cassettes, and I would record the music that I liked when it would come on. And you would know it like as soon as you hear the first few notes, you run into the joint. Oh, I gotta catch it from the beginning. You know what I mean? Eventually, double cassettes came out, and then it was like I'll just record everything, and then I'll edit it later and get the best parts.
Okay, I think we're touching on some beautiful stuff. So how old are you when you start recording this kind? Are you still like a youth, or have we migrated into the teenage years?
Definitely a youth, but there's levels to it. So I say about 9 years old, I was buying cassettes and taping stuff off the radio just for my own listening pleasure. I had one of those Sony Walkmans, so you could put the cassette in and travel with it. And that's how you really listen to music. Rarely would listen to the radio because everything I wanted to hear was on the cassettes. You know what I mean? So that was big for me, myself. But then you get to like high school, and so now I'm like,
let's put a pause on high school, because I really want to go in, right? That's the goal.
Right.
I want to hear stuff, because right now we're passing past a pivotal question. Is it about 8 or 9 when you start to form your musical identity? Because we, across my interviews, have figured out it's about puberty. It's around puberty. We don't know that. But that's when it stops being my parents and it starts being mine. And so was it around 8 or 9, I think, for you? Like you were young then when you started getting into your own music.
8 or 9 would be it. I always was into music, though. Music was big. I like to dance. So, you can't dance without music.
When did you start? So were you like dancing from like childhood? Like, did you like start to get into it?
I mean, there was break dancing, all types of ways to dance. You know what I mean? And there was always parties. I had mad family, mad cousins. You know what I'm saying? So
believe it or not, I only partially know what you're saying, because you got to understand, I'm a 33-year-old white dude who grew up in Montreal. All right? So like a lot of stuff that maybe for you is like, that's just what it is. For me, it's like, holy shit, you got to tell me more, because you're breaking down why these rappers are saying this shit. Because honestly, as I talk to y'all in New York more, it really adds layers of context into the world of growing up. Because I could not tell you what it's like to be an 8-year-old at that time in anywhere in I think you said Harlem. I'm sorry, I forgot which borough you said.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. So you said that like you go to me, I'm living in apartments in Montreal. It is just nothing alike. So what is it like? Because you said breakdancing at such a young age. That's not my reality at all. Tell us about being a kid and how the music was around you. Like I think people need to hear this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got, so even in the schools there'd be parties, you know what I mean? So knowing the lyrics was always a big thing, and knowing the right lyrics made you like cool, you know what I'm saying? Because people would just mouth words and know the chorus, but not necessarily know all the words. So if you knew all the words, you could really act up, and you dance while you acting out the words and trying to make dances that resemble what the words are saying. You know what I mean? So definitely always had like a crew of people. I was always one of those cats that had the circle around him when he started to dance. I was just good at it, naturally, I guess. But you definitely watch videos to learn new moves and all of that. And video access, videos weren't big back then. Videos was a big production. So videos was like Friday night at 11:30 and it ended at midnight. You know what I'm saying? So you had a half an hour a week to watch something. Then you had Video Music Box, which was like that right after school. I got to get home because it came on at 4 in the afternoon. But that was how I got up on hip hop, and pretty much the videos that they put out would always contain people dancing. So that it was a double positive, because I would not only learn some new music to search for or learn the lyrics from watching the video, but I would also learn new dances at the same time watching it.
So I'm not gonna lie, you just dropped what I call a knowledge nugget on us all. That's one of these moments where you said something so fucking insightful that it unveiled a layer of perception, and at least in my mind, that I'm sure the minds of others. Music videos confuse me a lot in the current era because they're basically movie productions, and honestly, half the time I have nothing to do with the song, and they're honestly kind of boring to me. That's me. A lot of people might like them, and that's totally fine. But when people explain to me almost the history of it and why a little bit things happen, so dance is a huge part of hip hop. It's maybe one of the pillars that I'm less familiar with as a person, but it's a pillar. It really is a fundamental element of this. And I never even considered the fact that a music video is a mechanism to share the dance moves with the people in an era prior to internet. Like, Nonezeo, thank you for sharing that kind of profound insight with us. That's a huge thing, and it even explains a lot of the tone and style of the music videos of this era, because again, I never would have put two and two together like that.
Yeah, it's more of a fancy visual now, but I will say this, when videos first started out, it literally was just a person singing, maybe like a background, and they put stuff in the background. It wasn't that high tech, but when people started having relevant songs, they wanted to make like mini movies out of them. So they would actually, the content of the video would reflect the words that they were saying. So, it elevated, and we kind of took a step back now, but there are some people still that do videos where the footage is actually significant to what the song is. You know what I mean?
Right. So what was the song that made you decide to go, I'm going to take all of this stuff more seriously. I got to start recording this shit. I got to start building my fucking catalog. What was the song because that's to me the identity former. For me, Cisco's the thong song. So what's your one?
This is tough, because honestly, the first song that got me motivated to even rhyme or do any type of music stuff was Roxanne by UTFO.
Okay.
And the story behind that is, once they put that out, then there became the real Roxanne, and she had the rebuttal to it. You know what I mean? Then they had Roxanne Shante, who was actually the real Roxanne, you know what I'm saying? Which was very ironic. But then there was these battles going on back and forth, So I think the main song that got me really like, okay, like hip hop is it, was a battle between KRS-One and MC Shan. So you had The Bridge.
What were you listening to before that?
Then The Bridge is Over. You know what I'm saying? So that was like really what got me motivated. I literally would listen to those two songs back to back for like an hour straight. We take.
What did you listen to besides rap though? None back then.
I mean, I listened to all types of genres, but it definitely once hip hop got into my scope, like that was it. You know what I mean? I was definitely like, I'm sticking with this.
It got to me so much earlier.
That's fair.
We're the same age, basically.
Yeah, you're right, dude.
Fair enough. Anyway, so I think it's fascinating that because you just triggered a whole nother thing for me, right? Battle culture. This is something that's very fascinating, because as I learned talking to Flaco Bayo in his interview, actually, this was like a lot more like in the streets real in your world, where like when you would see people, you would have to be able to prove your skills and test things. So like this whole culture doesn't really exist in my life. I know it existed in Montreal, so I don't want to downplay that. I know there are a bunch of cats in Montreal who grew up like that. I did not. So why don't you tell us a bit more about that battle culture side of things? Because if that's your inception point, that must be an insane time. Like that bridge battle series, that's huge. That's like everybody knows about it, huge. So what's it like being a kid watching that?
And honestly, all right, so let's go back even further than that. So you had crews, and this is I didn't find out about this till later on, but you had crews that used to get up, the Treacherous Three, Furious Five, and they would do live shows. You know what I mean? And in the live shows, these crews would battle each other, and they had dance routines. They had more than a few people in the group, so certain people would go in on another person from another group, and it would be like tag team almost. And then they even evolved to where the whole crew would actually interact with each other to talk about that crew. You know what I mean? So it became a very, very big thing, and honestly, it was basically a part of it. And really, it was more of a braggadocious thing, bragging and boasting. But when you get caught up in bragging and boasting, sometimes you end up demeaning the other person that you're bragging to, especially if you're in competition. So I understood, but like one of the things you should know is I lived on 1600 Sedgwick Avenue and on the 22nd floor. So late at night, it was all, especially on the weekends, I would hear this music playing. But because of how I was up, it would echo, but you catch a little bit of it. Definitely couldn't understand the words, but you could catch the beat. And that was actually Cool Herc spinning in the park.
Holy
shit. The
shit.
park was like right behind my fucking house.
So what you're saying is You were literally living and hearing the organic birth of hip hop playing out beneath you in a literal, dude, you're a fucking legend. Like, that's some history.
Yeah, but without knowing it. That's what's the crazy part. You know what I'm saying? I didn't find that out till later on. Like, oh, that's what that was. Like,
but you
amazing.
did tell us something crazy right there that, again, I never considered, right? And that's the idea of these crews and it being more than just MCs. Because, let's be real, in this day and age, a lot of us think rapper first. We forget about the brilliance of producers. I know that I sound like shit before my sound engineer, and he's the most wonderful part of my process, let's be real. So I'm team sound engineer, I'm team producer. I get how valuable they are. But the fact that you said dancers and the whole production, I'm like, holy shit. Like it's almost like we've stripped away a lot of the, I don't want to demean it, but the circus elements that made it a bigger production and a bigger show, we seem to have stripped that away in the modern era. I don't know if that's a fair assessment.
Can I add one thing real quick, and I'll keep my mouth shut after this?
Sure.
The battle thing actually started really with the b-boys, the breakdancing, because they were breaking and they were battling before people were rapping, and it just that was the culture. Like people, the MC saw kids battling, so they brought it right into their shit.
Yeah, it definitely leaked into the whole rapping steez once it started to really evolve. But what you got to realize too, like if you're you feel you're the best dancer, and another person feels they're the best dancer, you're going to have a dance off. You know what I mean? So it really makes sense. It's like I'm trying to gain the title, even if it's in a 2-block radius. I'm the best on these 2 blocks. You're gonna go against the other person who thinks they're the best on those 2 blocks at some point in time to really establish who is. Because just talking about it is one thing, but actually doing it and proving it is like real accolades. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy, right? Because even with that, like that means that, like in a sense, there's so much of the vocal side that ends up coming into it that owes everything to the dance and the production side, right?
Yeah,
because if you
it's
don't
all
have
integrated.
Like
it was definitely. That's why I call hip hop a culture, because there's certain aspects of it that leak into different things, but the culture is still involved in it. Like you're gonna break dance and battle somebody, but at the end you're not leaving like all mad at them and all of this. And it's the same with the MCs. You might have an attitude like because of how badly you lost or whatever, but you're not gonna attack the person that freaking did that to you. You're gonna be like, I gotta go home. I gotta make my next round gotta be 10 times better than whatever he did. You know what I mean? Which makes everybody greater. You know what I mean?
I think it's really cool that you said that, because you just dropped a secret to success, which is basically if you don't win, don't give up. Go home, practice harder. So thank you also for sharing that in the middle. I love that kind of shit. Seriously, Nonezeo, this is amazing. I feel like I'm just learning real culture, like the kind of shit that you can't find, because unfortunately not a lot of people have taken the effort to capture it. So you sharing your time with us is next fucking level. But let's go back to your story a little bit, and we're going to tie into all these elements as they progress. So you have this battle culture around you. You're a competitive person now because the dancing, the music, everything's around you, the environment, which is crazy because, again, the birth of hip hop is starting in the same environment that you're in, which is just double down awesome. So you start recording on these tapes. Is that how it starts for you, or are you dancing first and then that migrates into the tapes?
The dancing was definitely first. I was heavily into sports, and the music was just one of those things that was always around it. In the area that I lived, you would always have like a person. If you were out playing football, basketball, whatever sport it was, somebody would always come around with the radio and start blasting music. And it would always be either something you didn't hear and you'd be like, yo, what is that? But, it was like you would learn on the fly just by going outside too. So, family functions, whatever it is, music was a big part of everything. Somebody is always outside with a huge, like, I don't even know how you carry that radio around. That's why they called it a boombox, because it was so freaking loud. You know what I mean? So, like, I understand it. It kind of gets embedded into you, Even if you didn't like a song, you might know all the words to it because other people like it and you hear it all the time.
That's very similar to what it's like to be in stores these days. I'm not going to lie. But I believe that having the people with the boom boxes who are in touch with things carry it around is much better. And I think it's interesting that you even shared that, because something that I dislike in my city is the local public transit system has an active effort to stop young people from playing their music on their phones. And I don't like that personally. I feel like let the young people blast their annoying music. I was a young person and I blasted my annoying music. Let them do their thing. And I noticed that it's pretty cultural here. Like I'm saying Montreal. I don't know about New York. It could be completely different, or New Jersey.
Family functions, whatever it is, music was a big part of everything. Somebody is always outside with a huge, like, I don't even know how you carry that radio around. That's why they called it a boombox, because it was so freaking loud. You know what I mean? So, like, I understand it. It kind of gets embedded into you, Even if you didn't like a song, you might know all the words to it because other people like it and you hear it all the time.
That's very similar to what it's like to be in stores these days. I'm not going to lie. But I believe that having the people with the boom boxes who are in touch with things carry it around is much better. And I think it's interesting that you even shared that, because something that I dislike in my city is the local public transit system has an active effort to stop young people from playing their music on their phones. And I don't like that personally. I feel like let the young people blast their annoying music. I was a young person and I blasted my annoying music. Let them do their thing. And I noticed that it's pretty cultural here. Like I'm saying Montreal. I don't know about New York. It could be completely different, or New Jersey. But we really have an active effort to stop people from playing music publicly and loudly. And I don't know why it is, but it's so fascinating to me that it's such an integral part of your original story. And considering the career you go on to have, it's like, imagine if the whole world was silenced, how it would have changed the entire trajectory of like your life. That's so interesting just to compare the then and now. So as you get into the tapes though, how does that work? Why did you start doing it? What like made you go down that route?
I mean, you just want to have the access to it. learning the words, like I said, knowing the words is always a big part, especially when you go to parties. Being that I was the person that would, dance a lot and probably have a few people come around and start watching you do what you do. Knowing the words was like the extra icing on top. You know what I mean? Because you be mouthing the words while you're dancing, especially if you're dancing with a female. You know what I mean? It's like, she's like, oh, you know all the words? Like, that's what's up. It leads to conversation. It's a good thing. So definitely bridges the gap.
I like that. Thank you for that. That was the first Bridge the Gap pun in the history of Bridge the Gap, and that goes to Nonezeo forever. So I think it's cool because I remember being a youth and, believe it or not, recording off of the radio and getting the guy talking over it with his fucking talk over the part thing, all of that. But then you said something about 2 tapes, and I guess as you move into your teenage years, somewhere you go from being a fan who wants to dance and melding off the words to I want to make music or something. I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, but I assume in your teenage years, it's usually when it starts for somebody in that, you know. So tell us a bit more about that transition. Like, how did you go, fuck, I'm going to edit these recordings later? That's the moment I want to know more about. How did you get there?
All right. Well, in the beginning, it was basically I would hit record. There was no dubbing. I didn't have a dubbing system. So it was like you would tape the radio and hope that you caught what you caught. And being that you could fast forward and rewind, you would just fast forward and rewind. But over time, you kind of ruin the tape. The tape, the more you play it, the less quality sounding it is, and especially with aging. So you got to take care of that stuff. So I had some cleaning kits and all of that stuff to keep the radio clean and everything.
Let's pause there. What's in a cleaning kit for your radio back in the day?
All right, so there was a cassette that you would put in whatever it was. You drop some liquid because there's a little brush on it inside of it. So you put the liquid on the brush and you just play the tape for however long.
They don't know.
Minutes, and it cleans your tape. That gets all the dust out.
They have no idea.
Sterilizes it. Exactly. It's one of those things that you got, there's a science to it because you could ruin a bunch of stuff. If your cassette player wasn't up to par, and this has happened to me before, let's say you give this cassette, your favorite joint, to your boy, like, yo, play this on your stereo system, but his stereo system, he ain't cleaned it out in years. He'll play it and then you're going to hear it. Like, oh, wait, whoa, yo. And then you're going to open it up and the tape will not be inside the cassette anymore. It's going to be coming out of it. And then you got to do this whole thing where you're trying to get it out the tape deck, then you got to twist it back in place. Then sometimes it flips and gets reversed. It's crazy. I literally sometimes had to cut the tape and then use a little piece of tape, which is very hard to do, and piece it back together and hope that it doesn't snap. You know what I mean?
If it counts, I got some people watching on my side, and they're all relating to this tape because, believe it or not, everybody over 30's gone through this. We are all relating together on this because I done it. I don't think I ever went as far as the cleaning kit, but when you started talking about rolling back in tape and that, I'm like, yeah, right there.
Yeah, once it happened to me once, I was like, nah, cleaning kit. Like, we need this. This is why that happened. I'm finding out. Like, I can't have this happen to me. These freaking cassettes were like gold. I couldn't go buy the records. You know what I mean? My mom wasn't like, hey, I'll get it for you. It was a wrap. You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit, that's a big thing, eh? This is where, again, my privileged Spotify using ass doesn't really like remember that the world used to be like that. But how does it like? How do you get to the point though, again, where like you want to start editing stuff? Also, can you define dub? Let's pretend that the people watching all are not going to know your music jargon.
It's so simple. It's just recording. A dub is recording. Dubbing is recording. So when you have the 2 cassettes, I'm basically transferring what I want and dubbing it onto another tape, and then I stop that one tape and dig to the next song that I really want. And then I dub it onto there. So that's the concept of dubbing. You know what I mean? Like, so you're taking the pieces that you like and placing it onto something else that's like your creation now.
And you were doing this as a teenager?
Oh, you do? Let me tell you. All right. So yes. Can I get into the high school?
Absolutely, please.
All right. So this is where it was like phenomenal for me. And I got to bring my man into this conversation, Big Zoo, who you've also seen hosting the end of the week open mic as well as Frio Dub. He was like a person that we became friends in high school. We were in the same class and we became friends. Then we actually had a study hall together. So study hall is basically the 45 minutes that you would usually spend in a class learning something. It's like, this is like a free period for you. You got to go into the library or the cafeteria and you sit down and you're supposed to study and do stuff like that. You got to be quiet. You can't be too loud. You can have conversations, but you basically whispering, you know what I mean? So myself and Zoo were big fans of hip hop music. And at the time you had Friday, Saturday, was the nights. So you'd have from like 7, 8 o'clock to 11, midnight, sometimes 10 o'clock, it all depended. But those were the 2 nights. And on both stations, they would play it. So you had, at that point, it was 98.7 and WBLS. You know what I'm saying? So these 2 stations, you can't record both of them at the same time. Like if a wax song came on 98.7, I would go to the other station to hear what they were playing. As soon as I got disinterested, I go back to 98.7. But then your favorite song that you was waiting to tape all night, it would be halfway into it. You know what I mean? So you're like, oh, I missed it. And now it's like they're not playing that song again. That night, and they might not play it the next night because you only had this certain span of time. Really, it started off as a 2-hour show. So you had 2 hours at the same time, both stations, to fit in a whole bunch of like new stuff because it was like, hip hop was popping then. So there was a lot of music coming out. So between Friday and Saturday, you've got really basically 4 hours of jumping back and forth to hopefully catch the song that you've been dying to record so you can hear it back. So myself and Zoo would coordinate. I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna listen to 98.7. You listen to 105.9, and we'll freaking get together and see what each of us has. So now we're not missing songs. But he'd come and be like, yo, they played this song that they didn't play on 98.7. So in the study hall, we would literally sit and listen to all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I had the cassette, a York's cassette player with the speaker on the back. So instead of us whispering, I would just play the speaker low and we would be listening back to all of the songs. And, it eventually elevated to Bobito and Stretch on Thursdays and like Underground Railroad. There was a whole bunch of shows that started popping up.
I got a question about this, just in general for everyone watching. What's the time frame that this is happening, like in years? Like, when is this going on? What kind of hits are you guys recording?
There's so many, dude. Like, we talking like LL Cool J era, the Public Enemy.
Oh, shit.
To even to
84, 85, 86.
Right. You know
87,
what I mean? Like,
88, 89.
Yeah. I mean, it was way before that. I'm going to say, so with me and Zoo, that would be around 86, 87. You know what I'm saying?
Hip-hop blew up. Breakdancing like got public in 82. It was all over.
No, I know. Before that, that's when I was in the Bronx.
No,
so
I know.
I was on my own. You know what I mean? I just elevated once I met Zoo. You know what I mean? So instead of one person, it was two people, then you could accomplish more. You know what I mean? So that was like 86, 87 when we were doing all of that. But before that, I'll go as far back as I'd say like 81, 82. You know what I mean? That
So
I was doing all that.
you've literally basically heard all of it. Like, when I say all of it,
Basically.
I mean you've consumed all of it. Like, since the inception to today, you've been around and a part of this culture, and that is amazing. That's crazy.
And this is the thing, man. They literally, there was always there's a bunch of people on the block, the older cats, right? They would literally have the cassettes of those battles between Treacherous 3, Furious 5, so on and so forth.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
So I saw that Netflix show where they kind of talk about this, the takedown or the rundown or whatever. So I kind of know what you're talking about because they touch on that in the show. And you're saying you lived that. Was that show accurate at all? Do you feel like, did you watch it?
Yes.
Do you feel like it's a good representation of what you saw?
Yeah, and you know what I really like about it was, instead of me explaining all of this to my younger brothers, they watched that show and they learned a whole bunch. Then they were asking me questions and were interested. You know what I mean? So that actually seeing it made people more interested in learning about it. So I definitely give them props. It's a shame that these things get taken off the air for whatever reason, but it was very educational. You know what I mean? And I can't say that everything in it was exact, but it definitely resembled my upbringing, to a very high degree.
All right, so there's one more main pillar that we haven't touched on, and I don't know how involved you are in it, but for the sake of it, what is your relationship with graffiti art?
I'm not really a graffiti artist at all. I had a lot of friends that could. I wasn't the person that could draw and do all of that stuff. You know what I mean? I was definitely the dancer. I was definitely into the music, but everything else associated was just like stuff that I'd appreciate, but I wasn't even attempting to do. Like, my cousin used to go bombing on trains and stuff late at night, and he was like 11 years old trying to do that with all the older cats.
Were you ever around for those kinds of things, or were you just left it alone?
Nah, I probably could have snuck out the house and done this type of stuff because my mom worked at night, but I wasn't taking those chances. Honestly, I've definitely done, like, I'm supposed to come straight home after school and then go to the park and hang out and do other stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And damn near every time somebody in the neighborhood would walk by and be like, Rashid, what the hell you doing out here? You're supposed to be at home. Your mom gonna fucking whip your ass. Yo, and it's a real community. You got literally, it ain't no spies. It's family. Everybody is your family. If your mom ain't around, somebody's picking on you. That person's gonna get their ass kicked by somebody that knows your mom. Family, you know what I mean? So the village exists.
Thank you for sharing that, because all of these extra things, man, this really adds that shade and context to all of us about, like, because this music is a result of this culture and environment, right? So a lot of these early nuances, a lot of the things people were doing, they're confusing when you try to go back in time and make sense of it today. So talking to you really is a pleasure. I don't know. So you guys were basically around the whole time of hip hop. You didn't go through with the graffiti, but you did cover the other three elements, because I heard your vocals. For all knowing, this man can spit it off the dome and shit. Like, puts most people to shame. Like, just putting it out there, because his production, fucking stellar, beyond, like, stellar. So we're talking about a guy who crushes, like, all of this shit really, really well. So, like, I don't know. I'm real excited about that. Anyway, so let's go back to Big Zoo and you strategically teaming up and applying a project management strategy of Deploy and Conquer to optimize the research and development of a better palette for your music. Because you guys applied some corporate America shit to your music acquisition, and so kudos to that at a young age. So you guys are creating your playlists, you guys are doing your things, so you're trying to stay in the know already. So I guess there's a lot of power in being the guy who has the tape of the new song.
Exactly.
So I guess the beginning of dubbing is cutting out the songs from these mixes, right? In your lives, is that? So how does that start?
Okay, so all right, so we would get up. We have the cassettes. We already knew which ones we wanted from each other because of the study hall. So yeah, he's either coming to my house or I'm going to his. Now we're going to transfer the tapes. But eventually it evolved, because now you had DJs that would play the original sample that they made these songs from. And back then, most of the music you heard, there weren't too many changes in it. It was like, we're just going to jack this record and take the best elements and put them together, and you're going to rhyme over it.
Do you want to just expand on that a little bit? Like, just pretend like you're talking to people who have no idea. Like a level one. Give us the 101 version of what you just said.
The 101 version is a lot of your parents' favorite records You know what I'm saying? Because we all had record collections in our house. Like this, basically having a DJ play a song that another MC had rhymed over and had taken, and he took the best part, the open part of the actual record. That's what we used to call it, because that means there was no singing or vocals on top of it. It was just instrumental. So they would take that piece of the music as an instrumental and create an instrumental, you know, and that's what they would rhyme over. Sometimes you take the vocals and the chorus, etc., but basically they were just taking the open part of a popular song and looping it. So once that we discovered that this was how they were doing it, you start going home and looking through your records. And then that's what brought on the whole production thing. So now you're looking through records, like you found the record that you liked, but now there's 7 other songs, you know, 12 other songs on that record. You end up going through it like, damn, I wonder if another song has an open part like that. And then when you find it, that's where you go to. So the same way I was dubbing cassettes, now we're doing that at Zoo's house off of cassette, because the cassette player and the turntable were both hooked up. Once again, a York's stereo. You know what I mean? So I would bring a record through, or he would have some records at the house, and we would catch that part of the instrumental, record, stop, and then you bring it back and try to catch it again. And you know, you might get like 3 good loops in a row, but then you got that one that's a little messed up, but you know, you accept it. Like, all right, it's too tough to like be perfect.
You're literally breaking down the beat making.
Yo, a lot of people did this.
Like, you gotta understand, dude. I don't fucking almost next to
Pause
nothing.
tape culture.
Yeah, pause tape.
Because this is like how everybody was doing it back then, right? All of the beginnings, all
Yeah,
the records.
a lot of people.
Like,
except for the people in the studios. And honestly, I'll be honest with you. If we had a DJ, it would have been totally different. You know what I'm saying? Because a DJ would just cut up the 2 records and go back and forth, which is your Grandmaster Flash is probably the person you could actually give that credit to. You know what I mean? But I'm sure there's other DJs that were thinking the same thing and trying the same thing. So Grandmaster Flash took it a step further by altering the actual turntable.
Okay, we're gonna pause on the Grandmaster Flash thing and come back to that, because there's lots going on. So basically, you have 2 versions of this now. You have a production where the DJ is effectively a band, and the beat making process is the DJ doing the thing live. So that's how it all get done. The DJ would mix, the rapper would rap, and they would create this whole fucking production things. But then you guys are coming through on some, we can't afford to do that shit, which is cool because most people in life can't afford to do the shit. So what you're doing is far more interesting. And you, as the youth of today are doing, looked at the available resources around you and said, okay, so we got this fucking device here that plays the records. And I watched the breakdown, like I said, you saw how Grandmaster Flash is doing the fucking chalk thing. So they explained it all there. If you guys want some real reference, seriously watch that show and you'll have a better context of what he's talking about or what we're talking about here. And then you guys would find the parts that were fucking just good beats, right? Just whatever sounds in whatever fucking record. And then you would have your blank tape and you would play, record until you got your bar or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Wow. That's how it was done. So like that was when I picture like
that's how it started. And even then you have elevations, you know what I mean? So that's what we were doing in the beginning, right? But then you had these records that came out called Ultimate Breakbeats. So Ultimate Breakbeats were the best, most open, craziest drum having, dope ass loops. Even though people had used them, there were other parts of the record that they had on there that they didn't use. So you would be like, oh, I'm gonna loop this part. You know what I mean? So now you're actually being fed about possibly 5 different songs on one record. You know what I mean? And it's different artists and what have you, but it's like the cream of the crop at the time. So you didn't have to search as hard. But you knew if you bought an Ultimate Breakbeats, like I'm gonna make a beat off of one of these songs for sure.
So I got another question then, and it's one of those kind of like observational questions. So today, when you think about music production courses, everyone goes on YouTube and they learn out these little courses and they go do this, do that, do this, do that. But it's all like choose your target sound and try to recreate that, right? That's effectively what I see in basic courses. But in your world, you're almost incentivized to go find the record or the style or the sound that nobody's heard before. So you're gonna have to maybe go buy punk rock, and you're gonna have to go buy metal, and you're gonna have to go buy this and that. That thing's just far outside of it, right? And in a way where I don't think people today are doing that in the same level. So I guess, is that true? Is that how it worked for you?
Yeah, to a degree. When you so you hear I'm Bad by LL Cool J, and it's got like this rock whole thing to it, you know what I mean? But it's hard and you're like, oh, that's dope. That opens your mind now, because you're like, I haven't heard anything like this before. But now you're like, wait a minute, my mom got some rock records. Like, let me listen to these. Because before that, you were looking for a certain type of record. So, once people started sampling different types of music, and then you hear it and they flip it and you're like, oh, this is one of my favorite songs. Now in your head, you're like, I can't just limit myself to one genre of music. I can't just be like, I'm looking for James Brown. You know what I'm saying? That was like the first person you were looking for because of the drums. Drums was always a big part of the hip hop thing. So like once you hear, you go outside the box. But then when you go outside the box, you find something that's hot and you're like, you remain outside the box. You know what I mean? You keep dipping in and out and doing your thing. You know what I mean? So that basically it led to actual going out and purchasing records once I had a job. You know what I'm saying?
Fresh. So I see a keyboard behind you. Are you also involved in instruments at this time, or is it more of this is how your production process is?
The only instrument I use is called an MPC. Now, I know notes and all of this, and I could play a note or two, at least to complete a beat that I'm trying to make, and I'll experiment a lot, especially if I'm playing it on piano. But basically pads. are what I use.
That's fresh though. That's fucking dope though. Still, I honestly, you have to have a lot of rhythm. I have tried, and I am very bad, is what I learned, and I had to check my ego, and I thought I had tapping rhythm until I tried out that kind of stuff. That's cool. So you're a teenager with Big Zoo, and you guys are literally making fucking beats in wherever at home, taking advantage and leveraging available tech. I keep saying that because I want people to hear that and go, oh shit, I can just go do it instead of going, I have to buy it, because that's what you guys did. You started producing. That's fucking huge. Because, yo, it went on to really cool things for your life. And you started when you were young, and you didn't let obstacles stop you. You were just actually just like, fuck it, let's get it done, which is just super respectable. So how did it go from like a hobby to a thing?
So I met a guy at my high school, Teaneck High School, a guy named John Bay. John Bay was already in a group, which is the Main Source. So he was a part of the Main Source. But when he moved out to Jersey and stuff started happening for him, he eventually was released from the group. He was still like friends with them and all that. And he took me to the studio a few times with them. So I met Large Professor and went to the studio actually one time. This is a great story. So I go to the studio. Rakim is one of my favorite MCs ever. You know what I mean? And I go to the studio, and this dude is literally piecing together a song called The Ghetto. So he had done it originally, and Rakim already did his vocals to it, but somebody had messed up the timing on the tape. So the beat was basically lagging behind the vocal, and he had to come in and redo the beat so that it fit over the vocal. And I was there that time. And I remember like the first lines that he says is, planet Earth is my place of birth, born to be the sole controller of the universe. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, geeking in this freaking studio. But then when I left, I went to school bragging, yo, I heard the new Rakim, like it goes like this. Mad people didn't believe me. Few people did. But when that song came out, it was like, yo, you was in the studio with Rakim. You know how the story always elevates, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, not in the studio with him, but with Large Professor, and he was like the one that
Hold up.
pieced the
You're in the studio with Large Professor, like the Large Professor.
The Large Professor, extra P now.
So like you were, as a young guy, knowing that dude. Wow.
Yeah, it was, yo, he put us, myself, how about this? Myself, my mom, and Zoo are in the first video he ever did called Watch Roger Do His Thing.
Oh my gosh, that's nuts. Yo, we're gonna definitely check that out after.
Yo, my mom
shit.
got more time than I did.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Wow, how did you meet him? How did that even come? How did that happen?
Through this guy, John Bay.
Right.
Like,
sorry, I got
so John Bay would have me come to his house, and he's like, yeah, I see you into the music, and y'all be trying to make beats. And he pulled out this instrument called a Casio SK5. So I already had a good.
Tell us what a Casio SK5 is.
So it's a little keyboard, but it had sampling capabilities. But the sampling was only, I think it was 5 seconds, right? So
I thought it was
5
less.
seconds. Huh?
I thought it was less than that. I thought it was like a second and a half, maybe.
Maybe, all right, maybe it was 2 or 3. But I remember doing this. I had like 50 records that I already messed with the cassette. And then he came, I went to his house with 10 of those records. And he was like, oh, watch, we're going to flip these. I was like, cool. And yo, you would get the turntable and spin it as fast as you could at that part. But now you got to do it evenly too. So it's crazy. So you're spinning it, but you got to do it at an even rate. So when you play it back, slow down, because you could change the pitch on the SK5. So you would go mad fast and be like, but then when you play it back at the lowest one, it'd be like, and then you just keep hitting it to loop it. And then that's how I started making better tapes with this little SK5. And now you're playing it into a cassette player. You know what I mean? So it also taught me engineering, because we had to figure all this out to transfer.
Okay. So what I'm understanding then is you went from production. Or I'm going to call it production. I don't know. You're going to have, part of my questions later on is you're going to break down some of the jargon for us.
We went from dubbing to production.
Okay, so production, okay, just find it. What's the difference? Like, just because I don't really know all the words right.
So the dubbing is basically you're taking what you're given, right? And you're looping it and doing what you can with it, right? When you're doing production, now I'm taking more than what I'm given. You understand? Because now I have that freaking SK5. So now I take that loop and I loop it, and then I play it back to the speed that I want it, and I do that now into a cassette. But then I'll take another sample now, and I'll do the same thing with the record. Now this time it'll be a flute, and now I'm playing the flute on top of that track and creating something new. You understand? Before I was limited. I couldn't add stuff on top because it wouldn't sound right. But now, because of this SK5, I could layer things, you know what I mean, with the cassette.
Okay, so effectively, production, in a sense, is layering sounds to create the perfect result that you're desiring for, which is really similar to photo editing, which is something I'm learning about through work. And so I think that's fucking cool.
They're all related, dude. Video, everything. Like, if you know one, you can definitely do the other, because the whole thought process is the same.
All right. So tell us, like, walk us through, like, making an early beat. How would you think about it from, like, A to Z, like, at this point in your life? Just, like, pretend like, you know, it's a tutorial in a sense. And you just go, first I would do this, then I would do that. Just walk us through one of those.
All right. Well, first thing I'm doing is buying records or going through records that my mother owned or other people in the family owned, and looking for something that appeals to the ear that I'm like, I would want to spit on top of that. That's the first thing you do. Then you find that piece, and now you're like, how can I loop this piece so that I can extend the piece that I have now? So now you're extending it, and then you're going to find other pieces from other records, or maybe another piece from the same record, so that it changes. You understand? So I don't want to just rhyme over this loop and just keep doing that. I want to rhyme over the loop with something else on top of it that separates a chorus and accentuates maybe some words that I say. So now you're adding layers to it that you could strip away and put back in to create like sections of the beat. There's an intro, there's the verse, here's the chorus, here's another verse, chorus. Okay, I'm gonna get crazy on the outro and throw a bunch of different stuff in it. Or in the middle of my verse, I want everything to drop out and I just want a horn hit. So now you're doing like actual production, because you're removing elements and placing elements in hopes of accentuating whatever it is you're going to write to it or have written already.
So I'll have to ask a question that I probably should have asked a little bit before, but were you rhyming this whole time?
Yes, I definitely would say I was really, like, I had rhyme books by the time I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll be honest with you. So 8th grade, I went on a trip for ABC, which is a better chance. It's basically, instead of high school, it's like going to college. So it's like pristine schools in Massachusetts and upstate, but you actually stay there as a student, but you're in high school. And because I was one of the smarter kids in the school, there was a group of us that would travel to go see these schools because we were applying to them. And there was a dude named Neftali Fuentes, and he also rhymed. So this was my first ever attempt at battling and having to actually freestyle. Before that, I would write stuff out and have ideas, but there was no real formula to it. But when I had to battle him, he was like, yo, battle me. Like, I was like, all right, I'll do it. Like, I was excited. Like, I got somebody to do this with. And yo, we literally rhymed for 2 hours straight. Like, oh, you won that round. Oh, you won that round. Eventually, I had to give up because this dude, he would not stop rhyming. And I was like, yo, like, now my brain is tired. Like, I think I was killing you, but I concede.
That's cool. So you really were just rapping this whole time. Was there like a lot of battling going on top of that? So let's go back, rewind to, let's pretend we had the whole conversation.
I'd say it was always like, if you were coming up, it was almost like battling was the way to come up. It was like you had to be able to defend yourself if somebody came at you. You know, it's just, I don't even know, you know, if that was the proper way to think, but that's what most people would do. If you know, as far as writing writtens, that's cool. And you can have your little written about yourself and it'd be fresh and all, but somebody is always going to come at you with the freestyle element of it. And in which case that's where the battle ensues. But it's like, you can't prepare for somebody you don't know, and you don't know that you're going to battle them. So you have to create like little lines that you like, I could throw this at you. Oh, you fat and overweight. So I got these big lines, you know what I'm saying, that I got in the back pocket or what have you. But you know, it was part of it. That's basically where the freestyle element came in. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna lie, that's another knowledge nugget, right? So you have me going then and now type shit there, right? Because now it's the internet. That means that on the real, freestyling's a risk. It's a risk in a way that's different, because they're gonna analyze your bars in a way where in the moment it's gone. I talked to some battle people along the ways, and one of the things I learned about judging and shit is once the internet came in, people could really think about things in a way that judges in a room couldn't, and that changed a whole lot. But if the culture, if we go back to that, is that you have to be able to off the dome kind of just rip apart a person or be dope based on the environment, because that's what's being demanded of. And if we think about it, it really is, the gatekeepers of life are often going to be the people, and that's what the people expect, and that's the only way to go through with it. It explains so much about why it's such a huge part of the culture. To a lot of people, maybe that it's different up here, where like, at least for me, I got my music through music videos, you know, everything's polished and shiny and new, so you don't necessarily see the other side of where that raw kind of leads into like a Tikal or something like that. So thank you for sharing that, because that's really cool. So you were battling in the streets back then? Like, was this like an everyday thing? Like, was like, or
no, it wasn't an everyday thing, but you know, it was something that would definitely come up, you know?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So were you at all interested in writing songs? Like, because you said when you were making the beats, it seemed
really,
like...
wasn't really organized till I met Zoo. And it was like, I had somebody to feed ideas off of, and he would be like, yo, you write about this, I'll write about that. And it was like, dope. And Zoo was already known for rapping and freestyling when I met him. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely went with a party with him to a party in, I want to say it was in Inglewood. Yes, it was in Inglewood. And he literally knew Kwame, who was super popular at the time. And he knew Redhead Kingpin. And Redhead Kingpin had actually pulled him on stage to like freestyle rhyme. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was like amazing, and I was blown away. But it's like, yo, there were literally like parties at our age that we could go to and see people performing and doing that stuff. So it was very different. You know what I mean? Like, there's parties where people DJ, but then they be like, yo, stop, such and such is in the house, we're gonna let them rock, and you be like, word, like, that's what's up.
Fair enough. What was the sound systems like? Did y'all have mics and shit? Were y'all recording vocals and stuff at home? Like, tell us a little bit.
No, not at home.
Okay.
No, not at home. Everything you had was the low budget, like all-in-one systems. Like I was saying, York's was probably the best one. Like, we had the toy microphone so that we could put lyrics on top, but it was not a good microphone. It wasn't a good copy, but you know, it was like you could work on your art and hear something, which was good enough for me.
So you could practice with the tech at home, and then when the time came, you would go to the studio. So let's talk a little like tangential idea. What do you think about the idea of one taking something? Do you feel like a lot of people are like actually one take it, or do you feel like there's a lot of people who just practice a whole bunch, or what's your experience with that kind of thing?
Okay, so one takes, I don't believe in, first of all. So if you're recording a song, Like it literally should be executed as a production. You know what I mean? And where you have the best final product you can have. Like I've got people that come to the studio because I still have a studio and I record people. And when they come in here, they'll be like, "Oh, I messed up on this one line. I got to do the whole thing over." And I'm like, "No. Like if the beginning part sounds as good and it came out the way you want it, let's punch in after that and just keep that flow going. Because if you one take it, something is not going to be as good as it could be in that one take. You know what I'm saying?"
Interesting. So this is like professional advice rappers from a guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
who
production.
has-
It's one thing to be on stage and do something, and it's a whole nother thing to be in a studio. The beauty of the studio is you could polish everything that you would do wrong. On stage is where you have the problem, which is where freestyling comes in, because you forget a lyric, you know, you can't just stop rhyming. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
on stage,
before,
on
but
your stage show, people will forget, but a record is there forever.
Right, exactly. That's another point.
So you got to be careful when it's a live record. Is I guess the big secondary lesson. Be extra on point that day. No, that's so cool though. I really like that you said that, because I know a lot of people, like, I don't know. I just believe that if you are gonna one take it, and it's something that I saw Liddy Bros throw up in the chats on my side, is that if you're gonna one take it, practice it 45, 50 times first. So when you show up to one take it, it fits. Because
I'll tell you though, like, there's one person I could tell you who was a master of it, and that was Memphis Bleak. Memphis Bleak is one of the few people or only people that I've been in the studio with that would literally come in and in a half an hour he'd be done with the whole entire song. He would literally come in and do all 3 verses. Boom. All right, now I'm gonna do the ad libs. Whole thing straight down, everything perfect.
Was it like off the dome, or was he like practicing before?
No, that's what I'm saying. He practiced it, but when he came in, the execution was like flawless. It's exactly what he wanted, and he was able to do it in one take.
That's incredible. So you're saying, and this is just a fucking crazy historical tidbit, that from an engineer who was there, that Memphis Bleak can all in a track in 30 minutes because he put the time in to make it happen.
Yes,
that is a wonderful fact to share with the world, dude.
Dude, I always say it. You know, Jay-Z, that's his man. And I was like, this is probably why you're his man. Everybody he's worked with, they'd be in the studio 3, 4, 5 hours on one song and might not even be finished with it. This dude comes in a half an hour, he's done. Like, how many songs you want me to do? Oh, this is an hourly joint? I'll do 2 songs then. You know what I'm saying?
You guys know what he just said, though? I think we got to just unpack what you said there. That's fucking huge. So you're saying that, we're going to say the probabilities, and it's not all factual for the sake of whatever's, but Jay-Z's more interested in a guy like Memphis because Memphis kept album production costs at a fucking minimum like a professional. And Jay-Z's a professional, and it impressed Jay-Z, and that was huge. That's some huge shit. Oh, thank you for sharing that, dude.
I don't want to get into that until we get to that.
I know, but even just now for the beginning parts as a teaser, oh, wow, that's huge. It got me, like, my heart rate increased for the level of excitement. So let's go back then so we can build into it properly. So you're back with Big Zoo. You guys are writing tracks. You're composing now, keeping songs in mind. And I love that you said that about the production, because I feel like, at least for me, maybe it's just I'm a lazy songwriter, but I like it when the producer has finished a track and you can clearly see that you can see it. I don't have to think about the song structure because the producer did it so eloquently. So I think it's huge that you do that, and you were already doing that off the jump. I don't know if that's always been important to you or not, or if that's how everyone works, but to me, it's really cool that you do that. But let's go back to that era and what's happening in that world and how does it elevate and all that good stuff.
So you know, it was cool then. We were big fans of music, and together we just increased our knowledge base as far as music goes. But I'm gonna say when we both ended up going to Rutgers University, and in college we were actually performing. They would have talent shows, open mics, whatever, and we would literally put together routines and get on stage and spit stuff. So when we did one show, and I believe it was with where Yo MTV Raps came by. So Dr. Dre and Ed Lover had a thing, and it was like a competition. So we were all in the competition. Zoo ended up winning, but
did you just
it's
say
like we
Big Zoo won a competition that Dr. Dre was involved in?
Not Dr. Dre, like
sorry.
the chronic Dr. Dre.
Okay, my bad.
There's another Dr. Dre was overweight DJ.
That's the guy. Is that the one who just unfortunately passed away? And I might be wrong. Is that because I'm pretty sure I saw Dr. Dre who was over. I might be wrong. I don't know. Okay.
It's not.
Sorry about that. I don't want to put anything bad on wax or anything. I'm just anyway.
Well, he didn't pass away. He is sick, but it is that guy. It's just, he didn't pass away.
All right. Well, that's good. But it's bad all at the same time. That's weird. Mixed emotions. Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate you, Flacco. So yeah, back to you, Nonezeo. That's still huge, though.
Yes, you know what I mean. So he did that, and I remember he did very well and killed it. I was doing my thing, and I got booed. And it's all right. I had some haters in college, you know what I mean, which I found out later. But you know, it's all gravy. But yeah, after that, a guy approached us named Kwame, who was like, "Yo, I got a studio in my house." He lived off campus too, and he was like, "Yo, if y'all got some ideas for beats, like I can help you arrange them, and we could do some songs." And we were like, "Bet." So the very first song we ever did was at his house, because he had it wasn't even like a high-tech studio, but he had a microphone, he had a system he could record into, and he had something very similar to the ASR-10. So basically a keyboard with sampling capabilities. Cool. And yo, we came through there, mad prepared, like we was Memphis Bleak with the beats. Oh, we want to take this section from this time to this time. We want to take this section from this time to this time. We want to loop it here. We want it to go 4 times, then 4 times on the other thing. Yo, and he was blown away by our professionalism as far as you've never made a beat before, but we made that beat in like a half an hour with his skill to put it together. You know what I'm saying? Just off our instructions. So it was like, that was the elevation. Now we had made a song, and now in our heads we're like, yo, we can make it. You know what I'm saying? You always feel that way when you actually executed some shit you was trying to do. Of course, we came back, played it for everybody patting us on the back, and you know, it goes from there to even bigger things. But in college, that's what we were doing.
So you're spending your time in college producing and making music, but I guess in this area it's pretty cool to do this because you're gonna be able to go to the parties, rock out. So it's heavily tied into the social culture, which weirdly enough is very much manifesting online these days. So I think there's a lot of cool parallels between the culture that you're describing to us and the way that you collaborated and the way you worked and the way, honestly, I see Facebook and COVID kind of teaming up to force these kinds of collaborations and this kind of a culture almost recreating now. So I think it's cool to point out just these kind of comparisons. But so you're at the point now where you've realized I'm a producer or I'm doing this. This is where I'm going with my life.
What it was is the acknowledgement that we were good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like Zoo didn't really want to do all of the engineering stuff. Me, I was interested in the engineering aspect. So basically, I was in college for 2 years and then found out I had a learning disability, and college was just a little bit too much for me. So I ended up dropping. Well, not even dropping. I got kicked out. You know what I mean?
All right, man.
By the dean. It was on some bullshit though. But I got kicked out of college, and then I went home and I started working at Walgreens and just doing regular life. But one of my boys invested money in us because he really liked what we were doing, and he became part of Solid Ground because he rhymes too.
What was the name of that? Sonic Ground. Sorry, what's the name of the group? Just so it's clear.
Solid Ground.
Solid Ground.
Yep.
Cool. Sorry, go on, please.
So basically, he bought an MPC60, which was the sampling machine with the pads, and I learned how to use it, and now I was making beats at home, and we were creating mad songs. And then my other boy Doug Wilson was part of a group called Doggy Dog, who was a very popular hardcore group. They were originally called Mucky Pup, and then they got new members involved and changed the name to Doggy Dog. And we literally, because of Doug being so down with them, they would let us use some of the equipment they had to record stuff. And they liked it so much that we ended up doing a couple of records with them for their albums.
So that totally explains
I mean, they robbed you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the record.
Yo, I tell everybody about that.
All right,
Scotty Banks was like, "Wow, that's fucked up." He's like, "But I love Doggy Dog, bro."
So like, no disrespect to Doggy Dog or anything, it does answer the question because I think I saw Roadrunner was involved there, and I don't know.
Roadrunner was
so
the
like,
reason of that.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I was like, Roadrunner to Biggie, like that's a weird like transition. So I'm glad that you brought this up because I mean I know Roadrunner, dude, Slipknot and shit. Like that's me. That's my like youth when I'm young.
Roadrunner's the shit.
Honestly, Nickelback. I don't know how or why, but Nickelback's Roadrunner. And I don't think a lot of people know that. But yeah, Nickelback and then Stone Sour also. So Roadrunner does the rap battle beef shit where they play Corey Taylor.
Everybody got to fall off sometime.
But yeah, they play Corey Taylor against fucking Chad Kroeger. And if you watch the headline cycle, it is no fucking different than the way that the mainstream labels play rappers against each other. And I find that so fascinating that Roadrunner could be tied all the way back to this. So Roadrunner's effectively around back in the early hip hop days and all this shit.
Yes.
I had no idea. That's nuts.
And they literally liked
way
what
back
we were doing with them with the rhyming over the hardcore stuff. So, you know, it was like.
So you
I don't know,
are partly responsible for nu metal.
Roadrunner was doing hardcore back in the day. They did
what I will say is this, right? So we did a song called In the Dog Pound, right? And myself, Zoo, and my boy Doug rhyme on it. And so does the lead singer, you know what I mean? John Connor was his name, ironically enough.
So I just want to say, dude, I'm 12 years old in 2000. There is almost nothing better sounding to me than nu metal. And to hear you basically say, because Roadrunner is like 80% of why nu metal is a thing. Let's be 100% real.
I agree with you.
If you're saying that you were involved in the production elements that helped inspire their early work, go in a more hip hop oriented sound, then I'm going to have to say 100%. You literally helped inspire nu metal in a very direct and tangential way. And I personally, as Linkin Park is my favorite band of all time, thank you for that because that's huge, dude. I never thought in this conversation I would find out that I'm talking to an originator of my like honestly favorite genre of music, and that's so. I'm giving you more credit than maybe you want. You're a humble dude.
Yeah, you know.
Allow me to be fucking clear. What you just said is I walked into the engineer. They heard us doing our thing. And then, you know, 10 years later, it's the biggest genre in the world.
That's just a side note.
And Fred Durst is an A&R kind of scoping this shit out. Like, I mean, it does. I like Limp Bizkit. I don't care what anyone says. I fucking love their shit. But like, end of the day, the fact is, you can trace that to you. You're part of that story in a it should be on the record kind of way. And regardless of how big or small you see that contribution, it doesn't change. That's more than I ever did. You know, like it's more than anybody ever did. Like, come on,
we acknowledge that it was different, and you know, it wasn't like an established type of genre even. Or that it was like it was definitely a merger between two things that we like.
They weren't the first to do it either.
I like hardcore stuff, you know what I'm saying? I still listen to that type of music, you know. In fact, I engineer some of it sometimes too, and on live shows, you know. But it's like we literally were just being creative and having a good time doing it, you know what I mean? So when it elevated, you know, that was great. We were just on the last song in that first album, and then on the second album, they literally had us come to the studio for like 3 days and do a bunch of stuff with them. You know what I mean? So we did like a couple of skits with them, and we did 2 songs with them. And, you know, one of the songs got them best new artist for the MTV Europe Awards.
That's like,
I'll never forget that.
So that means you're the best new artist, really, none.
Yeah, you are. Wow, like I'm just processing what you just said. Did you get to go to the award show and all that?
No, they didn't even acknowledge us.
Yo, I heard the same story 20 years ago, exactly the same.
Yeah, so this is the thing, right? So we were in the studio for the last day, and I guess it's the head A&R guy that came in, or maybe one of the higher ups in the label had come, and he pulled me, Doug, and Zoo to the side, like, yo, so we need you to sign these contracts, you know what I mean? And then we'll pay you some money for what you did on this record that we're about to pull out. So the contract, just on reading it, it was telling me that we were going to get paid $100 and that we wouldn't get any residuals off the album. You know what I'm saying? We would get credit in our name, but basically we're getting paid $100 flat fee for everything, no matter what the record did or what happened. And I told the dude, I was like, dude, like $100 don't mean shit to me. Like, I'm not signing that. But I was like, these are my boys, and I'm not going to sue them over no shit. But I was like, that's like a mad insult. Like, I'm not going to sign that. So I turned down that $100. Like I'm not fucking with you. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure when they won the award, they were playing the part of the verse that I was on. You know what I'm saying? When they went to get the award.
You should sue that label today, bro. You should sue
I'm not suing nobody, because I'm like, yo, I just agreed to do it because these are my peoples, and I don't have a problem with that. But trying to put a price on it, and then that price being $100, I was pissed. I was just like, yo, fuck you. Yeah. But I know that's the label, not them. They would have loved it if we could have got $1,000. You know what I mean? And I probably would have been with that. But
I think it's cool that you shared that, because that's fucking professional of you. And the way that you handle that, like, look, I'm on my own like self-growth journeys and shit, and I would like to believe that I can handle a situation with that level of elegance and grace. First of all, I believe in pointing the weapon in the right direction. So be mad at the right people. You were mad at the labels, not the band. And I know a lot of people today don't actually pay attention to that kind of thing, and they get mad at the band when it's like, come on, dog, you just have to look a little deeper to see what the fuck is up. So you were mad at the right people, but also you knew the consequences of going in that route and who it would hurt, because it probably wouldn't hurt the label, it would hurt your boys. And they were your boys, and at the end of the day, they still hooked you up, and you saw what they were doing for you. Because you said that in your way, you told the story, I believe, that you saw this as an opportunity, and maybe you got robbed proper, but you also gained something that you wouldn't have got without the robbery. And the fact that you're able to isolate the lessons in that, I'm sure you learned about label contracts, and we all learned about that. That's fucking cool that you broke it down the way you did. You learned about the value of taking advantage of relationships and opportunities as they appear, but more importantly, keeping those relationships. I bet those dog guys are cool with you, or in that era.
We'll always be cool, dude. I haven't seen them in a while, but I know one of them that played the bass, one of my boys was telling me, like, he said hello, and Chris, and I was like, what? Like, you know him? Like, that's crazy. So, you know, small world, but it's like, yeah, I would never hold anything against those guys. And as a matter of fact, the give back was they had us open up for them at a lot of shows, dude. Like, so, and I'll never forget this one. We did one in Newark, and yo, no lie, it had to be like 2,000 people in this place, man. This place was huge, and it was packed out, and I remember cutting through the crowd was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get through the crowd to get to the stage. And they called us on stage before they got on. The crowd was there to see them. And we did our first song, and when we finished, the whole crowd was silent.
Man,
and they were just looking at us, and then all of a sudden somebody started clapping, and then the whole crowd went nuts. And we did one more song, but when I got off the stage, everybody was like, yo, that was hard, solid ground. Like, it was fucking incredible.
So let me understand this. Let's just go back into this fucking this like relationship building thing you just did. You didn't take the route of suing. You didn't maybe do what your friend suggested, which is fair enough. It's a proper reaction. But instead, what happened was you maintained a positive relationship with your peers who you were cool with, and they set you up in a way that was just blessed. Because yo, like, you just described a scene out of a fucking movie. Okay.
Yo, it really, that's what it felt like. And, you know, and then on top of that, we did other performances with them where they did merge with hip hop, and so we performed like 2-3 times, definitely 2. I think it was 3 though, with Beatnuts. You know what I mean? Opening up for them. So,
sorry, what was the name of the song? Horror stories back in the day, so I didn't hear any of this good stuff back in the day.
Yeah, so for your question, the song on the first album was Dog Pound, and on the second album, No Fronts was the single that they released that they won awards for and all of this stuff. I don't remember the name of the other songs that we did with them because they were more like skits.
You were in that? You were in that song?
On the song, Doggy Dog, yes, with them. Yep.
Pretty sure the singer now manages Kid Cudi or something like that.
That's fucking.
Oh, really, Chris? I mean,
wait, hold on, what?
He's some big rapper. He's definitely, yeah, he definitely.
I wouldn't be surprised. John Connor is fucking amazing.
Oh wait, so, John Connor is the
yeah, just like from Terminator. Yeah, that's
so
his real name.
This guy is the manager of Kid Cudi today. Is that what we're saying? I got a little confused
I'm
in
not
that.
positive if it's Kid
He's
Cudi
not positive.
somebody.
He's managing somebody in hip hop.
That's fucking fresh. But then if you consider that, back to the whole suing point, because I think it's really important. That's tactics, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to, like, let's call it gain power. That's what it is building the relationships to elevate your stature. And so people do take that hostile route. That was me until, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, and I got my fucking head out of my ass. And I started realizing that offering things to people gains you a lot of shit in life. It's just the facts of it. You caught that young, apparently. So you gave your services away to these people. And in return, you got to perform for fucking Beatnuts. Like, I know there might be other questions, but we've got to fucking stop and talk about this for a second. Tell us about this. That's huge, man. Tell us the experience.
So this is where you receive your side graces. I don't even know what to call it, but one of the benefits of that was that Juju from the Beatnuts really liked our group. So he was on Relativity, and this is all like full circle stuff, right? So
he gave us the opportunity to go into a studio. Relativity gave us money to do a 5-song demo in a studio that they provided for us. And we literally went in there, and in 3 days we did 5 songs and made a demo. And I'll say this, like, out of the 5 songs, one of them was absolutely terrible and horrible, but some craziness had happened the night before.
Are you willing to?
I don't know if you know who they are, but
no,
the Goats.
Let's do it. Explore this, man. Let's just keep it bloody.
Yeah, the Goats is like very popular. They were from Philadelphia, and one of my boys who plays drums was in the band. And we had a very fucked up, debaucherous, crazy ass night with them. They're cool peoples, but one of their bodyguards fucking overdosed on something. I don't even know what it was. And we spent the night looking for this motherfucker in the streets. You know what I mean? So it was really crazy because he's a big man, and he tried to put his hands around my neck like he was gonna choke me and shit, like, because he was tripping. But you know, that's a long story. I won't get into it other than that. But definitely Juju put us in the studio to do these songs, and I know 4 of those songs were great, but one of them was absolutely terrible. And we missed out on being signed to Relativity because they signed Ed Lover and Dr. Dre because they were doing that movie Who's the Man.
So it had nothing to do with the quality of anything. They chose to do that.
They were like, they're more popular. You know what I'm saying? They were like, they got Yo MTV Raps, and they're about to do a movie. Like, we're gonna roll with them. So it was understood, but it was like, damn, that was it. That was like the chance. But I just appreciate getting a chance. So
I think it's dope, but it's interesting how at the end of the day, it's like they took it from a perspective, and again, a label of what's the better business move? What's the better way to like make money on the situation rather than quality and sound? And I think it's important to say that because I think a lot of people have this jaded illusion that somehow like the music industry was more authentic or pure back in the day. Like I don't really think it was. I think it was just always toxic, and it was just always terrible. It's just that there was probably just less music out, so you didn't hear as much bullshit, right? So
right.
I don't know if you feel like you want to expand on any of that a little bit. What consequential to this part of the story, like what you can share about what you've seen or heard of this time of your life, because you were smart enough to read the contract, okay? So
right.
What got you to that point?
Thing. Labels, man, it's tough. Back then, it's very different. The one thing I could tell you that always happened to us as Solid Ground was everybody always liked the music. That was never the problem. They always were like, yo, I like this shit. Like, I would listen to it. The problem is they were like, I don't know what to do with this because it's so different from everything else. And it's not similar to anything I can relate it to promote it. You know what I mean? So
what kind of sonic choices were you making on that project? Like, what is...
the comparison we always used to get was Tribe Called Quest and Brand Nubian. So they were like, you're like a mixture of that with a sprinkle of De La Soul. You know what I mean? So they literally, like, on campus, they used to call us the Tribe. Instead of Solid Ground, they'd be like, oh, y'all the Tribe, yo, like, because y'all like native tongues, like the whole shit mixed with fucking Brand Nubian.
Solid Ground is dope.
Yeah, but that's why I like the name, because I was like, that's basically what we are. Our feet are on the ground. You know what I'm saying? We're not floating nowhere. We're very realistic with it.
Yo, on Facebook, somebody asked, that was around 95. Didn't y'all open for the Beatnuts in Philly?
Yes.
Oh, dude. Okay, let's pause everything else. Tell us about opening for the Beatnuts. I feel like we got to go back to like the actual experience of the shows.
Dude, it's the Beatnuts. They're like the best production team at that time. One of my favorites at least. You know what I'm saying? So like just being able to be in the same room with them and have them like us is like phenomenal to me. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I said, dude, like there's such a crazy cycle and repetitiveness with all of this because, and I'm gonna just throw this out here now because it fits. Is PH. I recorded a bunch of songs with him at the dojo.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure who PH is. I'm sorry.
All right, his name is Pumpkinhead. Very popular dude. Like, so he got a street named after him in Park Slope, Brooklyn. So, he's definitely one of the pioneers on the underground level for music, and especially battle rap. So, he came to the studio. He's one of my idols. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And he brought Psycho Les to the studio because Psycho Les made all the beats for him. And I proceeded to have a conversation with him, like, oh, Nonezeo from Solid Ground, and he's like, oh shit. Like, that's what's up. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like full circle, dude.
Honestly, I think it's fucking cool that you're sharing this, man. I feel like, because like you're so humble, dude. Like, it's like if you talk to you, you're like the most regular fucking dude I ever met.
Let me tell you, this is the funny thing, dude, is we're all people. Everybody is a person. You know what I mean? No matter what your financial status or whatever it is. And I don't know. And honestly, I do know where I learned this from. This is where I learned this from. Because I'm a little kid, probably about 5-6 years old. My favorite basketball player is Dr. J. I go to a family outing and Dr. J shows up. And I have a picture with him. We both got the crazy afros and I'm like at his knee and he's just like, hey, he was, in the picture, like hugging me and shit. And I met him and he was a regular person. He was mad cool. He talked with me and it was great. But at that time, it's like, I just met like one of my heroes. But then you realize like, he's just like, he's part of the family. He's a regular person. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So he's related to somebody in the family. And that's why he was at this outing and he was mad cool. It was just a regular person. You know what I mean? And everybody else in the family, I was the only one really flipping out. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else in the family is treating him like a regular dude. And I'm like, yo, it's Dr. J. Like, you understand? So at that point in time, you realize, like, and I had to be told, like, yo, he's a regular person. Like, yeah, he does all of that, and that's great. But, you know, treat him like he's your uncle. Like, you know, and then, of course, you're like, oh, Dr. J's my uncle.
Man, that's cool. So basically, then we understand that all this is going on in our story of Nonezeo. We're at 95, and I'm pretty sure that 96 is a fucking cool year for you. So why don't we talk about the evolution into the next parts and how all of that comes to be?
So my man Doug, who was the connect with Doggy Dog, he basically got a call from one of his friends, and he ended up getting a job at the Hit Factory. So this is probably in I'm gonna say 93.
What's the Hit Factory?
Okay, I was about to say in 93, and the Hit Factory is the biggest studio in the world. It's the most popular. Like Michael Jackson uses it. Every major artist uses that place. You know what I mean? Including the newer ones, etc. It's like the studio. So he ends up working there and getting promoted because he was working with Jodeci, and Puff was the one running that whole thing. And I found it funny because he's like, I'm literally getting mad jobs because people are afraid of them. Like he told me a story of how they were in the studio and they pulled guns out and they're looking at the guns like, yo, I got this one, mine's nickel plated. Like, look at this. And they're holding the guns, just admiring the guns and shit. But it freaked out the engineers. And since most of the engineers at that time were white, my boy Doug, even though he looks white, he's a person of color and he's Trinidadian. And so they were like, do you mind doing these? So he's like, nah, like I like this music. These dudes are cool. Like he wasn't afraid. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, he ended up doing a lot of those sessions. And eventually he became an engineer over at the Hit Factory. So he calls me one day like, yo, I'm about to get out of this Hit Factory shit. I'm about to do a new job at this place called Daddy's House, which is Puff Daddy was his name at the time. P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him, Sean Combs. It's his studio. So he's like, yo, you should interview for the job. And I was like, word? Like, I ain't another engineer now. He's like, yeah, but you've been in here with me. You know enough. He was like, they'll teach you everything else you need to know, just like I learned. And I was like, that. So I went to the interview. When I go to the interview, the woman sits down with me. We go through a bunch of stuff. And the final question she asked me is, do you believe in God? And I was like, oh, yeah, hell yeah. And she was like, you got the job. So I started working there about 2 weeks after that. And mind you, they were building the studio still. So I was part of the build. And at the same time, they were teaching me a little something here and there as to how to engineer. But what I found funny is there was 16 people working there at that time. And then they cut it down to like 6 people that would stay there as assistant engineers.
All right. So we got
all the people that had the degree from going to school and all of this, none of them got picked except for one person because his attitude was different from everybody else. Like the rest of us were just eager to learn. So whatever you told us, we were just absorbing it. There was no rebuttal. It's like, okay. And then we might have a few questions for you to explain things further. But the other people would act like they knew what was up. Nah, I learned this in school. You shouldn't do that. You can do it this way, blah, blah, blah. So eventually they got rid of all those people and were like, yo, you're compliant. You're eager to learn. So boom, you're in this position now. And I was one of the people that they liked the most because all of that starstruck stuff wasn't happening with me. You were just a regular person. It's nice to meet you. And we worked.
Can I just
Diddy up the record is really Nonezeo up the record.
Hold on. Can we just unpack this for a second here? Because that's a lot.
Yes.
I need to make sure that I'm following you because this is like we're talking about real fucking history. We're talking about the Bad Boy studio thing, the Bad Boy Records. Just so everyone's aware, we're talking that Bad Boy Records, the one that's still around today. In their original shit, their studio. You were part of putting that. Were you saying literally putting it together?
Literally putting it together.
So we're saying
one
we're
of
talking.
The rooms was almost done. We literally like lifted and brought the pieces of the board in and all of this stuff, dude. Wiring, you name it, building walls. It was crazy.
So you literally helped build the Bad Boy Studios or Daddy's House. That's a ridiculous name. Daddy's House.
Yeah.
And then 16 people. It's almost like a reality television show. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. You're literally part of a Puff Daddy doing reality TV before reality TV was reality TV.
Pretty much.
And that's how he structured his hiring process. That's actually fucking crazy. Did everybody catch that? He just told us a Puff Daddy strategy of the 90s, dog. That's fucking insane. Holy shit.
That's more the manager than Puff, though. You know
Bad Boy is an ensemble. We'll categorize it if I accidentally say Puff Daddy moving forward. I don't mean Puff per se. I mean the idea of Puff being Bad Boy as synonymous entities to my Montreal brain. So just as for the record there. But no, that's fucking nuts. That is fucking nuts, right? So reality TV interview style shits, and that's how they structured it. And you win because attitude is key, and you got that lesson about humility early on, which was to your advantage, so you applied it. But most importantly, I don't even know if it was so much that part. You said that they said, because they're the boss man, right? And when the boss man goes, I want it done this way. The pretentious man goes, dog, I know better. The wise man goes, how can I help you achieve your goals? If that's the position that you're in, you did that. And you were one of 6 people to be an engineer at fucking the beginning of Bad Boy's fucking...
Well, I started as an assistant, but after about a year and a half of being there, I got promoted to engineer.
All right.
Like I had learned so much.
I gotta
they were
ask,
like, you can press the buttons now.
I got to ask one more tangent before we go back into your story. Can you just explain the roles in the studio? Because I was looking at your credits and it's going second engineer this and fucking first engineer. I don't know what the fuck any of that means.
Okay, so assistant engineer means you were there It means that the engineer was giving you instructions and you would do whatever he needed. So they call it is a patch bay that leads you basically to all the outboard gear that you would use for mixing. So if you want to put reverb on it, you're the one that's patching that in so that he could move it on the board and add whatever reverb or what have you onto it. You know what I mean? For instance, but there's a lot to it. There's 2-inch reels. There's so you had a 2-inch machine which has 24 tracks. You when you do a session, you have to align the tracks and basically to put them at 0, and then you have to make what's called a record pad. So when you go back to the song, you actually put it at the same settings in the machine that it had previously, because stuff gets out of whack sometimes if you don't do it all the time. So basically, as far as preparation goes, I was definitely on point with all of that. As far as tweaking the machines and getting everything even, setting up the room, I mean, I was that dude, you know what I mean, in the studio. So engineers like me, but on top of it, I was in a short time, I was able to do a lot of the stuff that the engineer didn't want to do, and therefore I eventually got promoted.
Oh my gosh, do you know what you just did again? You dropped another knowledge nugget, Nonezeo. I love it. You're making this very educational for the folks, because I put educational as a tag, and I'm like, yes. So basically, what I'm hearing is you saw the opportunity to show people that your value was prevalent, was better than others, because you were willing to do things others were not willing to do, and showing that via your attitude, you were a team player rather than a person who cared about roles and responsibilities per se. And that elevated you in fucking Bad Boys Inception era. Do y'all hear that? That's important
Always
shit.
a team player, dude.
I love it,
Always
dude.
a team player.
All right, so you've explained what the engineering and the whole squad, and so what are the titles officially mean? Like when you say second engineer?
Okay, so when you get second engineer, that means you weren't the main engineer or the person that mixed the record, but you probably recorded stuff on that was placed on the record. So you might, like, for instance, there have definitely been sessions where it's 2, 3 in the morning. The engineer is like, yo, we've been in here since 8. Nobody's going to record anything. I'm going to just leave the beat on cycle. You know what I'm saying? And he'll leave. But then at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, whoever the artist is will be like, yo, I'm ready to record. And then I end up recording them. You know, as well as an engineer might not show up or he can't make it, in which case it gets placed in my hands and I end up doing the recordings.
Fair enough, man. So in a lot of ways, did you get to? I mean, obviously you dealt with some very, very huge names, like the kind of names that everybody geeks out over. And is this because you were just available? Is that what I'm hearing you say? Like you got these opportunities mostly because...
I mean, it's two things, right? Not only availability, but the fact that I was basically living in the studio. A bunch of us were, you know what I mean? But you're starting your day at 9, 10 in the morning, and you're going until 3, 4 the next morning in a lot of cases, you know what I mean? And so we would be like, yo, instead of going home, and especially since I lived in Jersey, I couldn't get back home until the first bus is at like 4:35 in the morning. So we would literally go and hang out at the late night spots, go watch some live music, whatever it was, and then go crash at the studio for like 2 hours, wake up in the morning, just go back at it. But I had that work etiquette, because even when they wouldn't do sessions, and this is probably the more important part that helped me excel at this, was if they weren't using the studio, I'd be like, yo, this room is open. I'd be calling people up, yo, the studio's open. Little Kim ain't coming in tonight. Like, come through. We gonna make some joints. And I would use the studio.
Did you know how he casually fucking name drops Lil Kim like it's not? Fuck my life, dog. This is a huge moment for me. I'm just saying, this is a huge moment. So you did something again. And I like to study the habits of successful people, and I like to look for habits and how they do their day-to-day, because that's how I can adopt better habits for myself. And I'm also working in a software company where web analytics and all that shit is a huge prevalent force in my life. And what you said in the middle of that was actually a huge differential from a lot of people's grinds. You popped into the live music venues and kept your ear to the streets in order to do what we call market research up in corporate boring land. But you did your market research along the way. So it wasn't so much just that you were there and available, etc., and that you had the right work ethic. You had that extra element of caring about the user experience, in a way to put it, of caring about the perception of what the person who wants to consume the product is, because you're actually around the fucking consumer. And then you went
Well,
home.
I'm gonna tell you too, this is even bigger part, and I'm gonna kind of segue a little bit backwards, so it's
it.
easier for you to understand. But and Zoo can attest to this right here. We're in high school and we're too young to get into clubs, but we got friends that could drive, and eventually I would be the driver, he would drive there too. But we would go to the city and go to these venues and go see people perform without knowing who they were. In particular was a place called Quando's, and it was Rosie Perez that put this together. So literally, and I'm gonna tell you, one of the best nights too. We went there one night and they're like, okay, we got this dude Trench coming up, and we thought his name was Trench because he had a jerry curl, he had this long trench coat on. It turned out to be Tretch from Naughty by Nature. You know what I mean? Which we realized later on. But we also saw leaders of the new school before they were leaders of the new school, before they even came out. We saw Busta Rhymes a few times up there. We saw Poor Righteous Teachers. The best, of course, was KRS-One. We used to religiously see him there. And it was just like all of these artists. So, you know, it was like Lyricist Lounge to a degree, but it was before Lyricist Lounge. So you had major stars that would be there, and then you would meet people that you were like, I don't even know who this is. Yes, Lord Finesse is one of them. Andre the Giant is another one. Oh. And it's just a bunch of talented people.
Actually,
so you would go there and be like, yo, my mind is blown. We saw MC Light in there one time, and it's like, yo, like it's the greatest place in the world. You understand? So
yeah,
when I'm going out into the streets and doing this thing, I'm going to venues and doing the same thing. There's people there that I don't know, But I'm like, yo, I'm going to this show because it's probably going to be a good show, or somebody recommended it. And sure enough, every time you go, there's always a jewel in there.
Just for anybody coming in, we're talking 96, right? So he's talking like, this is what we call golden era, if I'm not mistaken. You're in the goldenest of the era with the goldenest of the people. You're a golden era people. You're just one of them. To me, like, I see no difference between you or any of these other dudes, in my opinion. Plus you get bonus points for helping build new metal. Props. Big points in my heart for that. So, man, that's dope, dog. I love it. I'm so happy that you shared this with us. And I hate that I have to do this, but my bladder's killing me. We got to take a 5-minute pee break, if that's okay with everybody. If that's okay with y'all, don't be clicking off or leaving or anything. I just got to pee real bad. That's okay.
Yes, that's right.
Very cool.
Can I play a song while you're doing that?
Yes, please do.
So I'm going to promote my man Big Zoo's new album, which is coming out on December 18th, right? It's called No Beast So Fierce. And what I'm going to play you is a single that is actually out on YouTube with a video. The album will be out on the 18th, like I said. And this one is called The Butters. It's a freaking phenomenal song. Also with my man Prolific One, a.k.a. Propane. But yeah. Y'all need to peep this.
The audience in the comments are saying yes.
It's where they used to hide their box cutters. Under the butters. It's where they used to hide their box cutters. And other tools they use to injure one another. More murals and funerals, more crying mothers. They never truly learned what they meant to one another. The subtle hateful messages sent to one another. Failure to repay funds they lent to one another. Leaves the brother killing brother. I seen humans born from the same mother. Plot to scheme, murder each other. It's not black on black crime, it's just crime. It just happened to be blacks involved with that crime at that time. Don't let them change up the narrative. It's the new narrative, progressive, powerful, the zoo narrative. Take it from Christopher. I shift to uplift the listener. Share gift like rare piff pole positioner. Delegate and administrate the commissioner. Fight sinister to free all political prisoners. The butters.
Straight from the gutters, rusty razor open your cheekbone. Lizzie bag, scammer dot, credit card cheat code. The butters. We not paying at retail. Yap a whole rack, hit the hood for the resale. Or so we steal, plus we live for the thrill. Heaven Square, Bloomingdale's, Broadway to Ville. Boosting and racking, tear through Manhattan. Hood stars with gem stars in premium fashion. Pony hair suede out away on some neck. Wow. Big homie got security under pressure. Run up in the outlets, layer up, hit the exit. Purple label, cashmere, exotic and precious out of hand. 96, 30 deep, sherbet sheet, color of noodles. Over low snow beach, I'm not playing. These mac and cheese Tim stay scuffless. In this prison of material lustrous, the butter. Yeah. The mothers. Waking up late night, hear that lock click. Make sure you made it home all right. The brothers.
Working to hold down each other. Oh dang, oh we really at war with one another. Undercovers.
Late night on the stakeout.
Harass and shake down.
Outside of the takeout. The others.
You're not a part of this life though.
Watching from the sidelines.
Watch as our lives go.
The butters.
I need that by any means.
Shoot a nigga.
Cut a nigga.
Yo, how about the scene?
The judges. They throwing numbers like yard plates.
45 got us under pressure with God's grace.
People of color. When we build with one another. Our momentum is sky high. Freedom or die try. Put us on my. Tap into our tribe. Elevate. Hit your levels on our vibe. The butters.
My gosh, that song has been stuck in my head. I'm not gonna lie, since the first time I heard it. Like I watched that music video, whatever. But the way it's produced, the way that Big Zoo and shit, fuck, I can't remember the other dude's name.
Propane,
I'm so
AKA
sorry. Brain fart. I'm on the live. Sometimes that happens. But that track, the way everything is just put together, is actually just like fucking perfect. Like you sit there from the first note, the way it rides that groove. The way, Big Zoo, you understand the pocket, my friend, and that is a fucking ridiculously well-placed thing. Your voice is absolutely smooth, like butter. And
and we produced that one too.
And it's like, and I'm not just trying to gas anybody up here. I like do fucking album reviews and shit. I take my like reviewer man super seriously, so I can't be talking no nonsense. If I say it's dope and people don't think it's dope, it's bad for me, right? So I have to like give you full credit. Like of a lot of the tracks I've heard this year, The Butters is an earworm while giving me political messaging and stuff. But that's more on the Big Zoo end, I would say. What are your contributions to that? Were you involved in that song?
In the making of it?
Yeah.
Production wise.
Tell us more about that. Because I personally didn't know that.
Myself and Zoo, I have a production team, and we, Solid Ground, we call it SG for short. You know what I mean? So we've done like a couple of albums and all of this, and we try to stay in the whole SG thing. So for our production team, we call it Strategy God to stay within the whole SG thing. So we call it Strategy God. It was his idea. He brought it here, and we cut it up and made the beat.
But that's another like humble, like all over my album, you're gonna see produced by Strategy God, and people are not gonna know what that is. But for the insiders, Strategy God is the production team of me and Nonezeo, and it's just years of producing and making music together, and like you said, being in the pocket, and that record is a product of it. So None is always the last one to like toot his own horn, but every song on there you see that says produced by Strategy God is produced by me and None.
That's amazing. Kudos to both of you, because honestly, I'm not saying it lightly when I use the earworm term, because that shit's very specific. That means you hear it one time, and like a worm, it infests into your fucking brain, and it does not leave. And that's why I use the word infest in a positive way. And it's just been amazing to listen to that track over and over again. So that is, and I felt like everybody watching, because keep in mind, we want to make sure that the people out there in the world see this show. Somebody may come across who doesn't know you. They need to know you. That's what we're doing here. So I know that you're a humble dude, but it's totally okay to say, yeah, I made that dope thing. That's just what it is. It's totally okay to also do that.
I'll keep that in mind. That's for sure. I will toot my horn on this, though. I did mix the entire album.
Amazing. Because the mixing, no offense, Big Zoo or anybody, the mixing is what really sold me on that, because it blended everything perfectly. And when you hear good rappers a lot, it really comes down to engineering what you want to keep listening to. As an album reviewer, the production gives my grade more than the rappers, because rappers be mad fucking consistent. If you like a rapper, you're liking the rapper on every song, and it's everything else that determines if you like it or not. That's the facts of it when you really like study this shit. So you made it pop. And that's real cool. And I know Big Zoo's involved too, so all respects to the production team. But I'm saying you made it pop too. That's all I'm saying. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So why don't we go all the way back in time then to 96 as we're cruising around, and why don't you tell us a bit more about, like, let's go with some of the more fun stories. Like, you worked on some pretty fucking cool albums. Tell us about them.
Yeah, definitely. So Big was definitely a pleasure to work with. It's definitely a different type of environment. You know, Junior Mafia was there all the time. Same with Lil' Kim, but I definitely learned a few gems from him that I'll never forget, and I still to this day use with some certain artists or people that I feel like, yo, you're good, but you need to go like a step further. So I'll tell you this, like Lil' Kim, you know, Wanna Rumble with the B, huh? All of that, that's because of Big. Yeah, like, you know, she does a lot of over exaggerating words or doing sound effects. That's all because of Big. Because the day she did that, he was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you see how you just went, but that shit is hot. You know what I'm saying?
So you were there when that happened?
Yeah, hell yeah. A lot of stuff, dude. Like,
tell us about those stuffs.
But she, you know, she was one of those. She has the talent. She definitely got the wordplay. But you're not, and this is what I was saying before earlier about the whole one take. Like, when you're in the studio, you're doing the production. Like, so you're trying to get the best performance out and encompass that whole shit into the song. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he was trying to tell her. Like, be free with it. Have fun with it. Because if you're having fun with it, then I'm gonna have fun with it. You know, if it's something that's wrong, we'll take it out. But in the meantime, don't be afraid to go there. You know what I'm saying? Be over exaggerate sometimes. Be extra. It's okay, because this is your stage basically. In the studio, that's your stage for your performance. You know, you're only gonna get it once though. There's no recreating it except when you go on stage, and even then, it's not going to be the same as what you did in the studio. But at least make this the perfect performance. Like, I hit all the marks. I'm in the cut. Everything is clearly heard, etc. You know, you got to accentuate the positive.
But yo, a big thing you said there that's huge is don't be afraid to go and get too much. Now, I made some music videos on my DIY cell phone shit, and I learned what that meant real time. Because if you don't get enough footage, you're reusing a lot of stuff, and it's not going to be like the good thing, and then people took B-rolls and other things. So effectively, it's like really important to like actually capture as much as you can to create the best final product, giving you, the engineer, a lot more to work with. What about like ad libs and all that shit? How important is that? Like, in, you know, like, was this like a huge conversation point?
Yeah, I mean, honest. All right. So first off, I'm gonna give you the master of ad libs. I had the pleasure of working with Public Enemy, right? And it was for a song, He Got Game, basically. So not only did I meet Hank Shockley and
you worked on that shit? It's fucking amazing.
That whole squad. Yep. And I learned a lot from them too. But I also got to meet Chuck D, who's one of my fucking heroes too. He's a phenomenal MC. But then he came in and did his part. So this is how they worked. They don't really get along too well. So, and I assume that's from years of touring and the fact that Chuck D is a very mellow, cool dude, and you know, Flavor Flav is a little crazier, a lot more outlandish. You know what I'm saying? So like, he would leave the studio and then Flavor Flav would come in. But where most people would be like, okay, so play the song and I'm gonna go through the ad libs. He was like, nah, I don't need to hear all that. As a matter of fact, I don't want to hear the song. He goes straight into the booth and he's like, yo, play me the next 4 bars. And they'll play the first 4 bars. He'd be like, play it one more time. Be like, cool, record me. And then he gives you the ad lib for those 4 bars, whether it's 2 of them, 3 of them, or just 1. Then he's like, okay, I like that. Let's go to the next 4 bars. So he literally is like, let me listen to it. I don't want to hear it because I'm trying to accentuate what he's saying. So I just want to hear what he's saying and with the beat. And then I'm gonna just figure out what's a good ad lib for that, just that piece of that section. And I thought, like, that's fucking genius. You know what I mean? If you didn't write the rhyme and you're doing the ad lib, that is absolute genius, because you're giving full attention to a few lines so that you could actually give the best deliverance or performance to fill in that gap with an ad lib. You know what I mean? So I always find that phenomenal. Now, if you wrote it, you should be able to accentuate it yourself, but it might behoove you to be like, yo, I doubled words, but now I'm gonna do the actual ad lib. I'm gonna just listen to this piece till I'm like, oh, I know what's perfect to put in here. You know what I'm saying?
That's the way the ball bounces, G.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that's genius work.
Yo, honestly, I have struggled with ad libs the entire time I've done songs. It is the hardest part in the world for me, and I think you just gave me a tip that I'm gonna go fucking
Yeah,
try.
I'm telling you, it's gonna work. You got, and it makes your job easier. There's no pressure now, and there's no really messing it up. You know how you go through and you be like, oh, I like all of these ad libs except for this one, and like I fucked it up. And then people will be like with the whole one take shit, and then they erase them. It's like, nah, just do it a piece at a time. If you're not sure, and boom, it'll be perfect every time. Unless you wrote it. If you wrote it, then I would say, yo, be a little bit free with it and do it. But sometimes, just like yourself, you might be better off just doing it a section at a time and being like, yeah, this is the perfect ad lib. And sometimes you don't need the ad lib. So take that into account too.
Let's expand on that. You're a professional. We're talking OG with all the credentials you could possibly fucking have at this. When should somebody veer towards ad libs, and when should somebody veer away from them, in your opinion, based on sounds and styles and shit?
So I'm gonna tell you, first of all, you should always do ad libs, just because you can always take them away if you don't like them. You know what I'm saying? Now there'll be a case, and I will say this too. There are cases where you shouldn't double the word, you shouldn't add ad libs. You know what I'm saying? At all, because your performance, your vocal performance on the lead is enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing to take into consideration. You don't always have to double words and do this. If your performance of the lead vocal is absolutely stunning and spectacular, and you listen to it and you're like, damn, that's dope, maybe you don't need to add no other stuff onto it. You know what I mean? But you have to, it's just observing things. And honestly, when you're making an album, you know, these are things that you should take into consideration. You know what I mean? Like I've learned that you don't want everything on the album to sound the same, but and one of those ways is to do something like that. I got this one song where I'm telling the story, but instead of me adding ad libs and all of this other stuff, I added sound effects and left my straight vocal as the main vocal.
Did y'all just hear what he said there? That was huge. I mean, he said a lot of huge things, but he said an extra huge thing, in my opinion. Sound effects are ad libs, and that's how they need to be treated. It's something I noticed Eminem did, and maybe whatever about his reputation, but he's really good at using sound effects as ad libs, and it's something that I find makes his songs stand out as bigger and more loud in a way that Puff Daddy stuff sounds bigger and more loud than other people's things. And I really, I hear it in a lot of, especially the more pop-oriented music. It's almost like you can't have pop music now without good ad-libs. Underground's a whole different universe. Underground is just niche markets for days, so it's pick a niche market, and there's enough people on the internet that'll like you. But the pop world is very different. You're talking, you know, it's a production, and I like the way that you put it out. It's almost like every song's a show or a theater piece, or drama is an element in this, right? And that's something that I discovered along my journey, is that the classics, the shit that transcends time and gets that timeless quality, has that more theater quality. And I'm into albums. I love albums that tell stories. I've looked at both Biggie albums. I've looked at the first Lil Kim album. So I'm telling you, I've reviewed your work. I didn't know I reviewed your work back then, but I've actually reviewed your work. So I'm saying that straight up, it's fucking incredibly and impeccably timeless. Look, as much as Biggie's dope, that's not what makes these records last forever. It is the sound of these songs being perfect that makes the record last forever. And
that's why it's called production. It's a production. You're literally doing layers, and there's stages to it. You know, there's coming up with the idea, finding the right beat, then spitting the right thing on the right beat, you know, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that's involved, because you'll scrap a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I like this idea. And you know who's really a genius, I mean, who does that a lot is Nas. Like, Nas is like a true, like, writer. So there's like 3 songs that I've been involved with him that never came out, and I've never heard them. You know what I'm saying? Because he starts it out and he has a great idea. He might have a chorus, he wrote a verse, but he never gets back to it, because he's on to the next thing, and he's like, yeah, while it was good, I wasn't really feeling it like that. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes incomplete, which is probably why he has the Lost tapes. Those are probably those type of songs. You understand?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, like, you're just like walking us through like the shit you would just find on the internet casually, just like it's nothing to you. Like, that's crazy, dude. I'm just want to thank you again for the gift you've given me for this conversation, because so far, like, we're over 2 hours in, dude. And I'm like, I just feel like you've upped my knowledge game to a degree I was beyond my expectations. I was excited beyond my expectations. So thank you again. I feel I have to keep thanking you to show people that that's important when people give you big gifts, like the knowledge nuggets you've dropped on us. But let's go back to cool stories. Anything else you can share? Because this era is crazy. Like, what is it like being around Bad Boy while they're taking over the fucking music industry?
Some of my
the white parties, none in the hand.
Yes, please. Big Zoo, feel free to get him to tell these stories.
He doesn't think any of this shit is a big deal. That's why it's hard.
Gosh, Nonezeo.
The big deal stories. He'd be like, the one where Biggie gave me a blunt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To be fair, let's talk about the one where Biggie gave you a blunt, because that's as cool as probably all the other ones.
Because this is a realization story for me, right? So you got, we were going to the Palladium, and Funkmaster Flex was spinning, and they had some new music for him to play at the Palladium, which is always a great thing. You know what I mean? New music nobody's heard before, but you know it's so hot. It's like the crowd's gonna fucking love this. So he definitely was at the studio. Everybody comes through. You got Total, Black Rob, The Lox, all the Junior Mafia, Little Kim, and then you got all of the people that come with that. You know what I mean? A bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a celebrity fest in that motherfucker.
D-Rock.
So you gotta understand, Nonezeo, I am a 33-year-old dude. You are listing the people that were basically my inception to fucking hip hop, and you're just like you gotta understand. This is where, like, because New York has a different perspective.
This story explains it too. So I'm already in awe of Biggie, and we're like, yo, he got a huge jar of weed from Branson. Branson shows up. We already know what that means. And you might know of Branson from Redman comments.
He does not know. He does not know what that means.
No, I don't know what anything means.
All right, so no. Branson is basically the connoisseur.
Yeah, I don't know what a palladium is. I don't know what that is. I'm not gonna lie. I was like a Google later moment.
All right. So you get weed in plastic jars or in bags, right?
Yes.
Branson is like the upper echelon of weed in New York at this time. Like he's got a bunch of celebrity clients, and he puts his weed in the sealable jars. You know what I mean? Like that you would put preserves in, which was to me was genius because we had never seen.
And this is in 1995, before the marijuana industry as we know it exists. So before anybody was ever doing any of this stuff that exists now, that guy was doing it then for the celebrities in New York City in 1995.
Apparently, Branson's also on the 24 Hours to Live track. Is a place he's actually mentioned from CB Mac, who's watching on my side of things.
Yo, on a lot of songs, dude. So Branson comes by, he brings him an ounce in one of those jars. But now everybody in the studio, for some reason, nobody had any weed. So Big is just giving out weed to all these people. So myself and two of the other assistants, we get together. My boy Coco actually knows Big. So we like, yo, let's get like some money together and ask him for some weed. Coco's like, bet, let's do that. We get $20 together. And then we like, here, Coco. Coco's like, nah, yo, I always do it. One of y'all do it this time. And everybody's like, come on, dude. You know him like that and all of this. So long story short, I end up being the person that got to go in and do it. So it's just him and Little C's in the room, big ass jar of weed sitting in the middle of the table, and they both smoking joints by themselves. So I walk in and I'm like, yo, Big, could I get like $20 worth of weed out of the jar and all of this? And then he looked at me like mad, like, what? He's like, yo, man, don't ever be coming in here waving money trying to get weed from me and all this. So I'm like, oh shit, like this nigga set me up. Like I feel bad, like he's about to yell at me. And he's like, yo, dude, we family. Put your hand in the jar and grab some. Like, that's what's up. You know what I mean? Like, don't ever do that. Don't be coming in here begging for weed and shit. Like, grab some, dude. We family. Like, smoke. And I was like, oh shit. But you know, me being the person I am, I just grabbed enough for us to fucking smoke like 2 hours, you know, which is what we were trying to do. You know what I mean? And the funny shit is when we went to the Palladium, he came up to me like, yo, do you have any other weed you took left? I was like, nah, I only took some so we could smoke then. He was like, because he ran out, you know what I'm saying, in the Palladium. So I was like, damn, I should have grabbed more. I'd have been a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have had that shit.
I got a question. What's a Palladium?
The Palladium is the greatest, fucking hugest spot as far as hip hop goes at the time. It was right on 14th Street, and it was downtown, and it was just a huge fucking space, 2 floors. There's like a balcony area, stadium seating on that balcony area, and everybody who's anybody would go through there at any given time. And the line, you could be waiting like an hour. You could have got there when the doors open and be online for like an hour, 2 hours.
Okay. So I have another question because Big Zoo said a keyword that popped up to my young teenage self. So a big deal in my high school life was when Avril Lavigne showed up to a white party in a black outfit or something and he let her in. That was like big fucking headline news, right? And that's huge because, yo, I'm Canadian. Avril Lavigne is fucking royalty. Let's be real. She's dope. She's also, fun tangent point, she has the 10th best-selling album international in Japan. Avril Lavigne outranks the Beatles or some shit. It's fucking nuts in that chart in Japan.
Wow.
Anyhow, so tell us about the white parties if you were there because that's fucking insanity to me.
I don't really do white parties, but he throws a lot of parties.
Okay.
So, you know, if I'm not working, I'm at those parties. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. So there's 2 that I'll tell you about. There's one that was just a pop-up, like out of the blue. There was already a party going on, and Puff's in the studio. He's in a good mood. He's like, yo, everybody go to this address. So it's like people are piling cars, and we just go to the address. And when we get there, he goes to the front. Of course, he pulls up in like the limo and gets dropped off. He got a driver, you know what I mean? So he pulls up, gets dropped off in the front, signals everybody to come over, goes to the dude at the front door. I want to get all these people in, blah, 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 etc. No pat down. We good. It's me. And they're like, cool. So we all get in. We go inside, and the first thing he does is go to the bar, and he's like, yo, throws like 10 G's on the table, and it's like all the drinks are free for the rest of the night on me. So it's open bar. Everybody's getting drunk. And we dancing. There's mad chicks in there. We having a great time. I get a tap on my shoulder, turn around. Robert Downey Jr. Yo, you got any papers to roll in? And I was like, yeah, actually I do. And I pulled out some papers. And he's like, cool, man. He's with 2 badass black chicks. I'm like, damn, this motherfucker. Like, okay. So I turn around, still chilling with my peoples. He taps me on the shoulder again. Yo, you trying to smoke? And I'm like, you're Robert Downey Jr. Hell no. Like, you know, all the drugs and the shit that you've been through, like, I'm not taking that chance. No offense, but I'm like, yo, you fuck around, and this is a term that we use. I'm gonna wake up in the morning with a cheeseburger in my mouth. You know what I'm saying? Which is a gay reference, like, you're gonna end up getting ass fucked and waking up with a pain in your ass. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I was definitely like, no, but I was like, holy shit, it's Robert Downey Jr. You know what I mean? But I found that to be crazy, but that happened a lot. But one of my great moments was also at the Palladium, and I'm with some friends of mine, Zoo included, and Harv Pierre, who is the head A&R basically of Bad Boy, he walks up to me and he's like, yo, man, Like, I want to thank you for everything you've done. Like, you're a big part of the family. You've helped us in so many ways, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh, that's what's up. Like, thank you. And then he walks away. And when he comes back, he's got a bottle of Moet. And this is like $400-500 in the club at that time. And he has it on the bucket of ice with the glasses and everything. And he brings it to me and is like, yo, this is for you. Thank you. Like, and I'm like, oh, shit. And in front of your friends, that's crazy. But in front of all of these other people, these women that you don't know, that is even more bananas. And then we're in there chilling, and Puff walks up with Bobby Brown and does the same shit. Like, oh, what's up, yo? And after he left, then it was like, ding, 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 ding. We were like superstars. All these chicks is like, who the fuck is they? Girl walks up, can I have some Moe? And we're like, nah.
Why you ain't let me get no Moe? Yo, but Harv Pierre also very famously sang, I dare you.
Yeah.
You come for me.
Yo, I love, by the way, I'm one of the, as somebody from that era that was like young and like looked up to all that, I thought that Harv Pierre on the hooks was dope as fuck.
Yeah.
I love Joe Hooker's sound.
Joe Hooker.
Everybody who I grew up around hated him and hated that sound because they hated Bad Boy, right? Because Bad Boy was the most successful thing.
Yeah.
So everybody just like hated on everything they did. And he in particular, they hated it on really hard. And I was just like, what are you talking about? This is so lit. Like, he sounds dope. Like, he sounds like, I don't care if he's a professional singer or not. He sounded dope.
You brought up a good point though too, Flacco. Is like when None was working at Daddy's house, it was also, you know, the golden age of also a lot of the like J. Rue the Damager, Company Flow.
Oh, did you work with Company Flow?
Like, say again?
No, I worked with artists that LP had on Def Jux.
I think that was.
And you worked with
that's cool enough.
Worked with A$AP Rock.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
you worked with A$AP Rock.
The interesting thing was that it was like None was working almost for like the dark side of the force at the time.
Yeah, they were
working for Puff. I mean, Big evened it out because we was all enthralled by Big. I got to meet Big, saw Big. One time, this is when he was he had a red Land Cruiser. I was outside waiting for None to come out, and this is when he was messing with Charlie Baltimore. What was interesting was we were all playing music by like all of the super underground, like super gritty underground people, but None was working for arguably, you know, the shiny suit guy. You know what I'm saying? It was a weird position.
Yeah,
from it because a lot of what he said, those late night Little Kim sessions when she wouldn't show up, like None would call us at like 3 a.m, like, yo, can you come to the studio in the next 30 minutes? And we would just break night using that level of studio. You know what I'm saying? It was a beautiful time, you know.
Yeah, it definitely
like
was.
We had cracked the code, you know, like we were in my mind, we were like the lowliest underground fat beats, rapidy rap dudes working in a Little Kim session. You know what I'm saying? It was like a weird
crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And by the way, I think that like you were probably mentioning those names because those names, J. Rue the Damager, Company Flow, it wasn't that they were necessarily directly hating on Biggie and Bad Boy, but it was like they were part of what waved up. They were kind of the artists that other people who weren't a fan of Bad Boy being number one, they were the artists that kind of waved that flag of like, not everybody is that.
But J. Rue did have a record though. J. Rue had
he did.
It's called One Day. And he tells like a story rhyme about how like Diddy had hip hop kidnapped or some shit.
Yeah, so I remember that.
He goes informally.
Yeah, Camp had one too. So,
but, I mean, also weren't kind of like Mohsen Kweli, like there was like controversy, like, you know, and like you guys probably speak to this, but they I think one of the major songs that kind of like everybody gravitated to at the beginning was the one where they kind of were telling a story, and it was as if though most people took it as if though Puff was the assailant in the story.
Yeah. Well, you know, I had a lot of those, dude. Freaking, I've been to Faith's house and chilled, smoked with her. There's definitely had a crazy connection with Black Rob to the point like he was locked up. He got signed to Bad Boy and got locked up. And then when he got out, he was crashing at the studio a lot because he didn't really have a place to go. All that money was gone. And I used to record him late at night. So when he finally got the opportunity and he gave him Whoa, after he did Whoa and they put that out, all of the records that I had recorded with him late night, they pulled all those reels out like, yo, we got to make this album. So like I'm partly responsible for him being able to put a record out that fast because I would fuck with him late at night. You know what I mean? Like, yo, let's just record. You got shit to do. I got you.
Yo, this is insane. I just have to, like, I want to keep talking about this timeline, but you said A$AP Rock, and you got to understand, like, that to me is, like, the geekiest shit ever. Like, and I'm just on the other end. A$AP Rock's last album is my best performing organic video that people cared about, because people, like, fucking love A$AP Rock, all right? So I don't know how popular he is everywhere, but I want to hear everything you can tell me about working with that guy, because that guy is fucking something else, okay?
He's, okay, so there's only one person that I would put above him as far as writing goes, and as far as quickly and then delivering it, like, excellently. You know what I'm saying? Because his wordplay is bananas, and that's Jean Grey. Jean Grey is the only other person I've had in the studio that could just write some shit out, and then when she spit it, you're like, how the fuck you just write that? Like, nah, you had some ideas. Like, there was like some notes on the paper or something. She'd be like, nah, I just wrote it. Like, you're like, what the fuck? He's one of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, wordplay, phenomenal, and you know, it's I don't want to call it nerd rap, but it's intelligent rap. Like,
it is nerd rap. I
if you don't
accept
know
that
shit, you're not gonna understand what the fuck he's telling you. You know what I mean?
You can
Can't
know
be a
shit
dummy.
and nobody knows what the fuck. The Aesop Rock fan base is a bunch of people divided on what the fuck he means. And as an album reviewer,
Yo,
I get like fearful. I have to add prefaces like, yo, listen, guys, listen, I know I don't know. I'm just guessing. And then people tell me in the comments and literally nobody agrees. I'm like, it's nuts. So like, it's a fair assessment.
Because, and that's on
Yes.
purpose.
Speaking of, I mean, I'm going nerd rap, but I'm also pivoting into white guy rap. Do y'all fuck with this artist named Cage?
Cage.
You guys in Quebec aware of Cage?
So I don't because like I'm on basically spent 4 years catching up on culture, but most people I believe fuck with him who care about underground. Anybody that cares about underground cares about him and is quick to throw him in the Eminem chat like fucking fast. Like they just instantly brought together his name, sing Eminem stole it from Cage. Like that's a stock sentence in my life. I've heard I've heard it like 500 times, no lie. So
there is I guess like a shock rap factor to Cage that I could see people aligning with Eminem. But what's interesting is a lot of Cage's shit is just real stories from being fucked up in a mental institution. He's telling those stories, but early Cage shit is I was heavy. I'm a super big fan. And he had
the song Agent Orange.
The Clockwork Orange, yeah.
Agent Orange, yeah, the Necro beat.
That record is bananas. I mean, any way to start with Cage is a record.
That record was big in New York City's underground. I got it off of Stretch and Bobbito one night, and I took it to my boy who at high school who like just same as me was into underground shit, and like we were like blown away. Like what? It was the brain was infected by devils. Little thing that was just like what?
People said his brain was infected by devils.
Man.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
But I gotta go back to Aesop Rock because I'm really curious about what it's like to work with him beyond just his quick writing.
It's great, dude. Like this is what I mean. Like I said, you treat people like they're regular people, and they will be regular people around you. He's a fucking great dude. Like, and he's a phenomenal talent. And that's what made it really good for me was I wasn't really up on him when he came to the studio and I recorded him.
Which tracks did you do?
Huh?
Which tracks?
I couldn't even tell you, dude. I've done so much recordings and stuff. Like naming tracks is like out the question.
Okay.
You're on a track with him, no?
Are you on? Are you on a track?
You're on a track.
Oh no! I'm not on the track. There was a lot of Def Juk stuff that came through my doors
but
as the dojo.
That's fair.
Oh, I thought you were on a track. I thought that's what Carnage was saying the other day.
Oh no! I mean, we got along, and the stuff he did, I just was like, yeah, dude, like I'm bugging that I haven't copped your freaking records. Like I'm fucking up. Like you know what I'm saying? It was like a realization for me.
Do you know around what year it was? Like just the era that this happened?
So it had to be around 2005, 2006.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 2005 though.
That's very cool. I appreciate that. Honestly, thank you for sharing, man. Just the fact that you shared that he's able to, come through and do that quick, like you don't understand. Like I honestly thought he took time, right? Because I've been
he might. I mean, I've done pre-written stuff with him too, but the day he came and wrote something, I was just like, fuck.
But the fact that he's able to do what he does like that, and you're vouching that he's number 2 with only Jean Grey being number 1, which is also fucking incredible to share with the internet. You gotta understand, like, this kind of stuff doesn't exist. You try to Google this shit, where the fuck am I gonna find it? It's just not there. I have tried, dude. It doesn't exist.
That's a big fact. And you know what? I want to take a real quick second. Like, that's why I was really adamant about this, because, like, it's really important to just document all of this shit. And, like, there is no documentation. That's why I'm, like, telling you, like, you gotta break down Palladium. You gotta break down, because people don't watch.
So many. That's the thing. It's like I've definitely been blessed the whole time because I've got errors. I had an era where I was performing with hardcore groups and freaking Beatnuts, etc. You know what I'm saying? I got an era before that where I was just seeing people before they were popping. You know what I mean? And they're like most humbled state, like their early goings.
So
to recording the biggest stars in freaking Daddy's house. Like I met freaking R. Kelly in there.
Oh my god.
When he did I'm Fucking You Tonight. He didn't even record it in the studio with me, but Puff had him through, and he's like, yo. Oh, this is Rashid over here, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hi, I'm Rob. And I'm like, Rob Kelly, you're R. Kelly. Like, what the fuck? Like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great.
Honestly, though, I just appreciate you, Nonezeo. And first of all, I want to get through the whole story. I don't care how long it takes. If we have to do 7 of these, Nonezeo, allow me to be clear.
Yeah, because this hasn't even gotten to end of the week.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
That's why, because I'm like, we're in. I don't want to end anytime soon. That's not where I'm going with it. This is saying that there is nothing more fun I could picture myself doing tonight in this moment and having this conversation with you. And I say that with all sincerity. Like
That's what's up. Appreciate it.
Nah, for real, dude. And I know there's people watching on multiple platforms and multiple streams, and everybody's sitting there going, what the fuck? Because I know that, I just want to add a little context piece that I noticed something when I talked to the New York guys. You guys see the world of hip hop in a very different lens than, say, me, right? I am, in a lot of ways, a very different market, a demographic, and a way of seeing the entire world. And for a lot of us, which is probably everybody not from New York, we're looking in. And you're just part of it. It's inherent in second nature to you. So stuff that you downplay in your mind, like insignificant story pieces, is context I look for as an album reviewer. As I have a show called The Classic Quest, we're a little derailed right now, but once a week we do a classic album from all eras. We've done 156 of them now. And we're going to keep going as much as we can because it's just delightful. But when we do get hit in the comments, it's often because of stuff like not knowing what the fuck it is to be in New York. You go listen to like Wallabee's bars on a Wu-Tang record, and you literally do have to buy RZA's book to know what the fuck that's important, right? Like that's actually what happened. I had to buy the Wu-Tang manual to understand Wu-Tang bars because the Wu-Tang fans are assholes and I don't really like talking to them in the comments, but I respect their fucking vigilance and dedication. So it's big love in me calling them assholes, but it made me step up my knowledge game so that they weren't mean to me anymore because they're fucking mean. And I don't know. I don't know what that means because I'm from Montreal, right? That's like words, and you read blog articles and stories, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
I got one for you with Wu-Tang now.
Let's do it.
So we went to Nonezeo and a few of our friends went to the very first performance of them in Manhattan, right? So we were mad geeks, super excited. I don't even remember the other people on the freaking stage. You know what I mean? We were just hyped to go see them. And no lie, dude, like 70% of the crowd before they came on, all of a sudden all had Wu shirts on. Like all these t-shirts came out and people threw them on top of their shit. And we were just like, oh shit, like there's a gang in this motherfucker. And yo, no lie, 2 chicks is standing next to us and they rolling up the blunt. Like, oh, this shit about to go down. They got the Wu shirts on and everything. And yo, they lit that shit and it came mad close to Zoo arm. And he was like, oh shit. Like, and looked at her and pulled his arm back. She's like, oh, don't worry, baby. I ain't gonna burn you. Like, all of it. Yo, this was hard, yo. I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. Like, you know, as soon as they started performing.
So I just gotta ask one thing. Because we're streaming live to Twitch and they have some policies,
oh, my bad,
that B word is probably one we should dodge in the context you used it. Just because of rules made by social media platforms. And so I would add in also LGBTQT stuff, anything related to that world. Just be cautious with language use. I'm just for the safe, you know, we don't want to get in trouble.
No, it's not a problem.
Let's anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but keep going because this is delightful, dude.
But like as soon as they started performing, we were just all into the performance. But it was definitely phenomenal. And then when they get to the yo, the whole crowd, it's like your ears was buzzing. Like, oh shit, like so many. It was so loud, dude. But that, you know, that goes to show you their organization. You know what I'm saying? They would bring half of Staten Island to the freaking Manhattan, so it didn't even matter if you knew who they were or not. After seeing the amount of people that had the shirt, and then they already got the albums and the records on Smash. But to go to a show and have 70-80% of the crowd be cheering for him and all this, even if you don't know him, you're gonna be like, yo, I gotta get this. Like, this is a phenomenal performance. It just alters your whole state. Like, yo, I have to be a part of this.
So do y'all hear what he just said there? That was huge, beyond the cool story of being at the Wu-Tang show and seeing what they did. But I have a story that I can match with about Montreal history a little bit. So back in the days, there's this cat who goes by the name, he currently goes by 1990V and previously Mac Vibes. And Mac Vibes got signed. He got a lot of attention at like 18 years old. And I can tell you how it was because I was performing in the bars back when he was getting his buzz on. And I can tell you what it was. We was performing at bars that did not card. And they were 17. Do you know what 17-year-olds are willing to do? Go anywhere that will let them drink. So he could show up at every crowd with 30 tickets sold. It didn't really matter what he sold like, and I'm not going to say names about quality because actually the dude is an extremely talented guy. I think he's a fantastic guy. He's currently on some melodic trap shit, and he was actually dope back then. And but it was more important is that he could bring 30 people to a show, and especially when there's only a capacity of 100, you bring 30 people, and they're your boys. Oh my gosh, he got signed. So you just, and you know who else? Wu-Tang did that, and you also added a layer that we did not add, and none of us really think about is branding. I barely even have fucking merch, right? I never even thought about that, but you brought up such an important point. It wasn't just that there was a large army there. They were a uniform in support of the squad, and I think a lot of people nowadays on their solo grinds and efforts forget about the power of community. And one of the things that's attractive about End of the Week and what y'all have built is the community angle. Like y'all like have diehards, okay? Y'all have people who it's almost bamboozling how diehard it is to me as a person who's new to this like little being here just watching it, right? End of the Week Quebec is going big in your honor. I watched fucking debates about your honor going on. Yo, that's how big your community is. I don't even know if you guys saw it. It doesn't matter. That's how big it is. I know it's in other countries because I fucked with this guy in Switzerland and whatever. So all of this ties into the power of community. And that without, because Wu-Tang is fucking forever, okay? Like, it doesn't matter what country you're in. They're one of the biggest brands that exist in the world. It is beyond hip-hop. I know people who've never listened to a song who bump that W and have no idea what it means. They just know it's the W and it's dope. And how did that happen? Because I bet they got a fuck ton of footage, and you shared this with us, of moments like that where they had a bunch of guys with W's on. A crowd of people had their back, probably knew all the fucking words to their tracks. Wow, do you know what you shared with us there? Everybody watching this just learned everything that I just said there. Holy shit. Thank you, sir.
And then that's the beauty of it, because once we get to end of the week, that's what we were doing. Live performance-wise, there was nothing better that you could see on stage.
That's
like,
crazy,
you know,
man.
And you don't even know us. You know what I'm saying? And we were still like the freaking highlight of a freaking show. That's why, like, Rocksteady, you know about Rocksteady?
No, not really.
Okay, so
let's talk about Rocksteady.
So just like the Quando's place I was telling you about with Rosie Perez, Rocksteady was the annual outdoor. It was always outdoors somewhere in New York, and it would have the top ranked, your Fat Joe's, you know, MOP. I mean, KRS definitely did one. There's so many names to name, Master Ace, etc. But then you would have the people coming up. So you would see Mos Def and Talib as Black Star before you even knew that Black Star was coming out. You know what I'm saying? And this was an annual event. So we were always geared up to go. I remember that was the first time I saw Brand Nubian. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were like, well, what is this? We knew who Grand Poopa was, but we didn't know the other two guys. We didn't know who Sadat X was. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair,
and
man.
it was like, we saw all of this take place. Lord Jamar, you know what I'm saying? Like, you would see so many people, like, definitely, and we said him earlier, Lord Finesse was a staple.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like you would just see the best MCs up and coming as well as established. And then they would be on stage together. So it was the greatest. So, you know, EO Dub, we ended up hosting that.
No
and
shit.
it was because that it was pretty much that was what it was with us. You got to put on a show when people give you their attention. Like, you got to keep their attention. And the only way to do that is to be dope. You know what I'm saying? So
I do love what you're saying. So I feel like we're definitely going to have a part 2. And I feel like you kind of want to talk about end of the week. And we can go back to the Bad Boy era and get more stories in the future. But I want to give love to end of the week. Honestly, I think it's amazing that y'all made this. And is that the next part of the story? Is there something between Bad Boy and end of the week? We should maybe go a little sequentially. But what comes next after Bad Boy and all of that? Because we're going to come back in the future.
This is what I'll say before, and we could cut it after that, right? So Bad Boy, great era, made it all the way to 2000. And then this dude, Mario Winans, had come into the studio. He was using it a lot. I used to do late night sessions with him.
Okay.
But every time Puff would leave, he would leave. So it's like Puff comes in, yo, I need you to finish these 2 songs and do this and do this. And he'd be like, bet. But he's a dude that wants to go out and hang out and party and do all of that. I will give it to him. Skilled musician, definitely taught me the 5-hat trick, which I've mentioned on the Beat Challenge before. But he would leave as soon as Puff was gone and the car was out from in front of the building. He was out the door. Like, I'm going to this party. I'm going to go do this because I can. So eventually Puff was getting on him about it. And he told Puff it was my fault because I was using the equipment late at night and shit wasn't working. And then he didn't feel like waiting and it would fuck with his whole aura and timing and he would have to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? So Puff called me in his office and was straight like, look, man, you can't use the equipment no more late at night. And I was like, cool, then I can't work here anymore. And he was like, what? I was like, yo, no offense, but like I get paid nicely and all that. At that time, it was like $40 an hour as an engineer. And that's good money at that time. But I was like,
that's
it
just
takes up my time. And if I can't use the equipment and do me, like, it's not really worth it to me. Then I'm just absorbing everything everybody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I got my own shit that I want to do. If I can't do that or express it, then I'd rather not work here. You know what I mean? And he was cool with it. But that's how that relationship ended. But Zoo was getting married in July. And this had happened probably towards the end of May, right before June. So I remember because we did his wedding, you know, and then when he went on vacation, when he came back on his honeymoon, I should say, when he came back, he called me up like, yo, they want me and you to host with these guys Eye to Eye, who we already knew from doing shows.
Who are the guys of Eye to Eye?
LES. Yeah, that's Vice Versus and Prolific One and Ego Trip. You know, there was 3 of them at the time. So they were like, yo, we want you 5 to co-host with each other an open mic. It was the idea of a guy named Joey Ty. Joey Ty also spun at his at Zoo's wedding as the DJ. So when he came back and called me and told me that, I was like, oh, bet, that's what's up. Like, I'm with that. And honestly, like Joey Ty never made it. He got diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately, he passed away. I think 6 or 7 months after we started End of the Week. But Vice brought Scram Jones, and we started off in Baby Jupiter, and then a whole new era in my life freaking began. And it was like I've always had this happen, but every time I have a little errors in music and the things we were doing, you know, the Doggy Dog was one of them. You know, performing on stage with them was a whole nother one. Actually going to see people before they were up and coming was one of them. But definitely after Daddy's House, End of the Week was the next era that started in my musical life. And to me, is one of my favorites.
All right, so
like, I love the fact that I worked for Bad Boy and met all these people, cool people, still love them to this day. But the End of the Week is like we did what nobody would give us, or the break we would get in the industry.
We got to talk about this. So what's the birth date of End of the Week? Let's start the story. What's the birth date? Where does it begin? I don't know if Big Zoo knows this. He's on the call. That's why I asked.
I could look it up, but it's the 3rd Sunday in 2000.
That's good enough. That's a good
enough. Sunday in August of 2000, and that's when we always anniversary is the 3rd Sunday in August. That was the first night we met and started at Baby Jupiter, as Ra shared, and then we spent a long time at Baby Jupiter. Then we went to the Pyramid, and then we went international, and that's how we have this family now. But August of 2000.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so tell us about the beginnings of this and what your experiences
were.
Oh, no,
like. We'll save that for part 2 because that's going to take too long. That's a whole another era. But I will say this. On Facebook, it's Nonezeo, Nonezeo. I post a lot of stuff that End of the Week is doing, as well as a lot of new music that's coming out that you should all check out. And I also have a GoFundMe going on that I'm going to promote too for my studio. I'm more than halfway there, but I still need help to reach to the final goal so I could set up some more video-wise, making this place more, I don't even know what to call it, but improving upon the studio that I have now
Yeah.
to the point where we could do live performances in here.
So here's what's up. We're gonna link that everywhere we can on our side of things, 100%. I personally donated, so that's how much I
Yes,
believe
and
in
I
the
thank
shit.
you, sir.
I'm not even saying it for credit for you. I'm saying it to validate anybody watching this. It's more on that end. That's how much I put up, and I'm in Canada, so I had to put up $50 US. That's extra in Canada, right? Because numbers big difference. But that's how much I believe in your shit, dude. I think you're that talented, and I think you're that cool with it. And I don't know. I just think everyone should put that up because this man is a legend. Yeah, I don't know if you heard the stories that he talked about on this. And again, I don't even want to end the call. I'm happy to keep going as long as you fucking want to keep going, dude. For me, I got nothing else to do except play video games. So trust, this is far more interesting. I do understand if you have other things to do, and I
No, I
respect
do.
that.
I actually have to record somebody in about 14 minutes.
So I totally appreciate that, and I'm happy to wrap up. And I love that you gave us this much of your time. And anybody that wants to, shoot the shit a little bit after to wrap up and just discuss, we can totally do that as well. Because Nonezeo, that was a gift, man. That was a gift. I don't know how else to express it. This is going to be one of the most memorable moments of my life because this is going to be my first big interview thing ever in my interview.
Dude, you know what? A friend of mine said this to me too. Like, and this is funny too. Like, he was like, "Yo, dude, you like Black Forest Gump?" It was like, you remember when he was running and doing the marathon, and then he wiped his face, and then the dude had the smiley face. He was like, "That's the type of shit you do, man. You don't even realize it. Like, you be helping people out, and then phenomenal things happen from the little bit of advice or the little nudge that you gave them." And one example that I'm gonna give is a dude named Ariel Barajal, who worked at the studio, and he started out there, and he didn't know much, but I'm like, "Yo, I'll teach you whatever you want to learn." And I was, matter of fact, after hours, when people aren't here, let me know. We can work on stuff. And I used to literally go to all of those places. I would go and hang out and see new talent. I would approach the new talent like, "Look, I work at Daddy's house, and I would like to get you in the studio." You know what I mean? A good example of this is a group called Hydra, which is GMS, LR Blitzkrieg, and Wild Child. LR Blitzkrieg actually has a project out now with Bad Seed called The Sixers, which you should check out because that shit is fire. But definitely, they performed, and from the performance I saw, I was like, "This is dope." Like, yo, I got the studio. Y'all should come in. And they came in, did like a 5-6 hour session, but that was practice for Ariel so that he could get his stuff up. Ariel Barajal now has 4 Grammy plaques for mixing in this world. For artists.
Like Nonezeo,
And I can't tell you the artist that he did it with, but my man has 4 Grammy plaques for the mixing that he's done on albums.
I really appreciate everything you've shared, man, and I really want to talk to you again. I also want to talk to Big Zoo. I want to talk to everybody I can talk to, but because this is a video and it's a production, and on my end I have some supporters, we got to do a little outro bit, right? Because that's just the way it is, because this is a video after the fact. So thank everybody watching this for reals. I mean, even if on the live you stick around, whatever's, follow us at twitch.tv/the EOW channel. We're gonna have everything linked on our end. I don't remember the channel. My channel's behind that suit. So we're gonna be streaming this live everywhere because it's about building that community on the internet. So make sure that you do follow the End of the Week channel. Make sure that you go support their live pages because they have a fucking thing running all the time. This is on their channel for the people on my side of it watching. This is hosted by them. That's why I have their logo on my screen right now, because they're in collaboration with us on this. This is a big group effort, international things, right? That's why it's called Bridge the Gap. It's about making bigger connections, okay? So thank you all for watching this and being here for this amazing episode 1. All right, we got an episode 2 lined up. That's a very exciting thing. As soon as I can get the public confirmation to announce it to people, I will. I don't know if that can be done right now, but it's going to be amazing. And then the 3rd episode is lined up, and we're going to keep it running because it's about bridging that gap of knowledge. So thank you all for watching, because without you folk being here, what's the point, right? Like, you guys are here. That's what we're sharing the knowledge with. Thank you for giving us your time like that. If you did like it on the likable platforms, like it. Follow on the followables, subscribes on the subscribables, whatever we put this on, etc. And on my end, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Pato, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do, and we got to shout them out in every episode of what we do because they give us love like that, and that's just how it is. And again, that's about it for the intro. I do like to end my shit with a live long and prosper. That's just what it is. But we can keep talking for as much time as you want to give us. And thank you, man.
It's a vice versa too.
Is it? That's amazing. That's pretty fucking cool.
Baby.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know that's really important. I don't understand why it's important, and I know that's a bigger conversation for another day. And I really look forward to that.
The next episode.
Man.
The whole End of the Week is another 2-hour freaking episode, bro.
Nah, this is more like 3 hours, which is beautiful to my ears, dude.
Wow.
We can push. Honestly, in my opinion, the 4-hour ones are the best because that means it's so good that you just keep going. And I'm telling you, I was craving a good conversation like this. Okay, I had a guy who got a little too drunk. I got a guy who got a little too high, and you kind of were like perfect. This was like in my hand. You were like the ideal fucking guest. Okay, and Big Zoo, you played great affiliate roles. And the other guy whose voice was there earlier, I don't know who he is, but he was also dope. We should shout him out. Who is it?
Damian Burns. He's a producer. He produced some stuff with us, and he's like a real into the hardcore and all this. He's one of the people I met through the hardcore scene too.
So I felt like it was cool to just shout him out because he did participate and make it cool. Shout out Flacco Bale, because without him, gosh, he was the bridge of this gap because there was no way this is going down. I ought to love the Flacco Bale for everybody watching it because, and let's be real, Liddy Bros, they dropped that Liddy project and y'all should go stream that shit. And check out my interview with Flacco Bale, self-plugging here and just saying it's fucking Liddy. And yeah, that's just kind of like the culture we want is this. I want this all the time. The more I can get y'all sharing it, that's how people like me on even the white front get smarter and more educated on this shit because we learn. And it's so helpful that you gave us your time. I can't even stress it enough. I could probably say it more, but I think I'm being a little redundant at this point. So yeah, that's it. I can't think of what else to say outro wise. I don't know. I assume you have to go because it's 8 minutes. So
yep. But thanks for having me, dude. Enjoyed myself, and honestly can't wait for the next one. Let me know when we're doing it. I'll definitely clear up my schedule for it.
I'm gonna let Flacco and I figure that out. And I mean, he has some guests and ideas, and I want to space some shit out. But also, we're gonna get a big zoo episode in, maybe. I feel like he might look a little enticed now. I'm just saying, and that one might go 8 hours. That's okay. We'll set it up. We'll make sure there's nothing happening the next day. I don't know, man. Thank you. I feel like, in a sense, this was like a big moment for me in one of those eras. Like, how like you had your era moments. You gave me like an era moment because the amount of things in this thing that can get cut the fuck up and put on YouTube to get us all buzz is ridiculous, dog. Do you know how many clickbaits you gave me? Do you know I have a guy who's gonna edit the clickbaits and make sure that people see it all, and it's amazing, dude. So you
don't forget to send them my way, man. We got
every fucking episode is gonna get that GoFundMe put on the bottom of it, and we're gonna get you some fucking traffic, okay? That's what the fuck it is.
Man. Appreciate
I'm gonna make my designer, if he's still watching, because he's been fucking commenting the whole time. He's gonna make a little end card that says "donate to this" at the end of every one of his fucking episodes. So make sure maybe you up your goal. I don't know. I don't have that kind of reach. Don't fucking listen to me like that. But who knows? Maybe 1 or 2 people do give a thing because of the effort. That's what we're trying to do, though. You know what? That's all I can say. I don't know how effective I'll be, but by part 2, I hope to get you more traffic, and by part 5, I hope to get you even more traffic, and that's why we're gonna build it out like this.
That's what's up.
Anyway, thank you for making Bridge the Gap episode one of the coolest shit I've done in a minute. No offense to all the other interviewees.
I'm always down to come back, man. Anytime.
Fair enough. I don't know if anyone wants to stick around and shoot the shit a little bit, or if people want to dip off. I do know that Nonezeo has to go. That's up to everyone else on this call, because I know a couple of y'all were jumping in. But I just want to say shout outs to all y'all too.
All right, everyone. We are back to the real life now. That was very insightful to watch that at 1.5 speed, because that was a 3-hour thing that we got done in 2 hours. So yeah, thanks to everybody who came through on the stream today and participated. I look forward to coming back next week, watching some more of these as we go, and then definitely just taking notes and preparing all that. At some point, Flacco will be able to come through on cam again as he's out there doing his thing. It's good to have you in the chats. Thanks, Chris and Lindell, and I think I saw Bonnie come through at one point. But without further ado, I'm going to end the stream, go about the rest of the day, and appreciate all y'all coming through again. So live long and prosper, everyone.